Can you give us a watch out for weirdos, and we can? I feel like you should.
Tell us we're watching out for Tell us to watch out for the weirdos.
Yeah.
Warren, tell us to watch out for.
What are you talking
Tell us to watch out for the weirdos. Just say it. Say it.
Warren.
Watch out for weirdos.
We are the weirdos, mister. Come on.
I thought the Mister came first.
We are the weirdos. Oh my god! Wow, that was. Hi, welcome back.
That was like an incredibly Splice and Splatter start, though. You've got to give me that at least. It was on brand.
Oh boy!
Welcome back to Splice and Splatter, the film podcast presented by the Jean Cocteau Cinema in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where classic horror
It's modern gore.
We're your hosts. I'm Siena.
I'm Al, and we are the weirdos, mister.
Thank you, Al. This was my idea, and I was the one who fucked it up, which is very on brand for me.
Mister, we are the Hey, mister, we are the weirdos.
It's got like a honky tonk vibe.
I hope everyone else is collectively laughing. Not at you, but a little bit.
Laugh at me, please.
I also can't see anything.
Mister, we are the weirdo.
I'm also wearing sunglasses inside because they kind of look like Nancy's from The Craft. I can't see anything.
You know that David Lynch gif where he's putting on sunglasses and
I think you sent this to me.
I probably did.
So you were like, "This is us energy."
At
some point.
That sounds right. There's a gif of David Lynch putting on sunglasses and being like, "I'm wearing these because the future is so bright."
Oh my God! Stop. Same.
Yeah, it's you today.
It's me.
The future is so dark. You gotta wear sunglasses. Hi, Al. How are you doing?
Doing good, actually.
Ooh, that was a really enthusiastic start for Al.
Here's the thing. I feel like we've been waiting for the moment to cover The Craft specifically, just so we could dress up, which we did.
Oh, did we
ever? I'm gonna remember to bully Warren to take our photo because we always forget to take a picture of our photo. It's the sunglasses. I can't tell what's going on.
I
can't see the words in my head anymore. They're blocked out. I always forget to get a photo of our outfits for our themes because if you're not watching us on YouTube, which you should, also because you should stream us, and also because it's very helpful.
Yeah. And because we're funny.
Yeah. I think our facial expressions are
funnier
something.
Yeah.
They add.
There's something.
They add. But I feel like our outfits. So I was really excited to get dressed. I was excited to.
We came in this morning and we screamed at each other.
Yeah. And then we started. I was like, "Where'd you get your skirt?"
Yeah. And then we were like, "Save it for the pod. Save it for the podcast."
So I was gonna say for a quick, very brief rundown of both of our outfits.
Give us your description first, because we've talked about your sunglasses, which are amazing.
So I'm wearing tiny little sunglasses, very reminiscent of Nancy, but they're not red because I couldn't get them in time.
I feel like the black is more Al vibes.
I'm not very colorful. I'm wearing my mesh long sleeve that I feel like I wear all the time.
Love.
This was a thrifted button down that I cut off. I think it's gonna fray in the next wash, so I don't know if it's gonna make it through.
No. At least you get to document it.
Yeah. It's here for its shiny moment. It was $3.
Yeah.
So we're good.
Yeah.
And then I'm wearing a vintage skirt that I thrifted from the 90s, so I was very excited.
Amazing.
It's like 90s material.
It's got
too.
that look to it. Yeah. Well, and you can tell that it's like lovingly aged.
Oh yeah.
Too,
Yeah, the tag is like fucked up.
Yes.
It's a little stretched out, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'm wearing my I'll stomp on you boots.
Oh, so good.
Which are very 90s too. I was debating going knee high, but I like the way these ones look with the fit better.
Well, and I feel like you can't fully appreciate the knee high with the gorgeous long skirt.
Yeah, but then I'll have a little bit of my slutty ankle peeking out from time to time, which we don't
want.
Slutty
little ankle. Can't have that now, can we?
Not in 2024.
No slutty ankles in 2024.
Slutty ankles.
It's an election year.
Not an election year.
Good. There is like a thing apparently about how when the economy gets worse, skirt lengths get shorter though. So
there's like a bunch of weird stuff that happens election years and
love
stuff.
That stuff. Which actually is applicable to The Craft in a way, because one of the things that Rachel True jokes about is that as their powers grow, the skirts shrink. So there you go.
Well, you're stronger than me. I got a long skirt on today.
I'm always wearing a short skirt.
I tried to find one and I couldn't.
I almost changed into a shorter one, but I was like, I think the plaid pattern is more important.
Yeah, your skirt's awesome. Also thrifted.
Yes, also thrifted from Double Take in Santa Fe, which at this point they should just be sponsoring us because I wear them every single episode.
Yeah.
I've got this asymmetrical like tartan schoolgirl style skirt. I've got my ancient combat boots. We've got my
the tried and trues.
I don't even know how to describe this.
You got glittery skeletons
grabbing
boobs.
my boobs on my shirt today, which this is the one that
they're holding on.
They're holding on for dear life because there's not a whole lot to hold on to there. Found this the other day while I was helping a friend on their short film set down in Albuquerque.
Oh yeah, we both got like cool necklaces on.
Yes, this is actually a prop from my upcoming film, which I put on today for good luck. The earrings are from the good hussy who had a booth next to us this weekend.
Awesome.
Can I just say I have such a crush?
Yeah, she had
amazing,
such good energy. I love that she would like giggle at everything that we were like talking to people about.
I know. Our booths were right next to each other at the Crow's Nest
I was gonna say, yeah, we
brunch
people,
this weekend that we went to. Where
thanks everyone who stopped.
That was so lovely.
It was really cool. Thanks for everyone that bought merch.
Yeah,
I like really cool.
getting to see people. Like, we've seen a couple people send us their photos of themselves in our merch, and it's like surreal.
It's like, hey, it's us.
It's us. we're real. We're real boys now.
we are. Yeah, we're a real podcast now.
We're a real pod now.
I was gonna say, yeah, that actually. Thanks, Siena. Speaking of merch, we have official Splice and Splatter merch out. So hopefully by the time this episode comes out, we will have it online for those of you who are not close enough to come to the Jean Cocteau Cinema to get some. So if you're local, you can come to the Jean Cocteau Cinema and get it there. We have shirts. We're getting really cool 3 different versions of new stickers. We have totes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, do you have the tote?
I have a tote. I'm going to Vanna White it.
Yes, love.
We have our tote.
Vanna
so it's got
the
VHS tapes on the one side, our logos on the other.
And the VHS tapes, for those who are not watching, say classic horror and modern gore.
Yeah. So we try to do like the shirts, the totes, and then we have hoodies, which we were only going to get for us, like, me, Warren, Siena, and Travis. But everyone saw them and we're like, wait, can I buy one of those? So we're also going to have hoodies, and they all have something different on them. So it's not like you could like get all 3 and they feel very different, which is kind of fun.
The hoodie has like Freddy Krueger style slashes.
Yeah, your back. And then like the sleeves say classic horror, modern gore on each side, which is really fun. And I realized they're on the right side of us because you're on the right.
Yeah.
And I'm on the left. I didn't even know. I didn't even know. Isn't that so cool?
Ow.
I know. It's okay.
I did realize this weekend we should have been sitting on the other sides of the booth from each other. I was like,
in real life, I cannot have someone on the right side of me.
Is this not real life, Al?
No. This is podcast life. The Red Room.
True.
I gotta take these off at some point because I really don't know. Like, I feel like I'm disassociated a little bit.
I was gonna wear my leather jacket into the recording today, and I just knew I was gonna get too hot.
Me too. I almost brought like a big, this like big dad-looking bomber. Good. Like, what's her name? Bonnie wears. I very much dress the craft versus, although like a little bit Stokely energy.
I was assuming you were going to dress the craft just because both of our closets are the craft.
And Stokely, which is just all black and pants. So like,
I mean, Stokely Stokely is the character that the most in the faculty looks like she stepped out of the craft.
Yeah.
She'd fit right in.
She jumped from university to university.
Truly.
What else? I feel like there's like other work.
I know you'd
stuff.
said that there were work things. Yes.
You guys, this is our job too. So we have the merch.
So they tell us.
Speaking of the craft, we are playing it.
Oh
We pinned it. Yeah. How did we forget this? So we are playing the craft at the Jean Cocteau Cinema in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
First weekend of September.
Weekend of September. We have really cool posters available to everyone. We got everyone excited over the weekend for those. And so tickets, by the time this comes out, again, should be on sale at jeancocteaucinema.com. Again, every time we might be there, we might not. We might pass out goodies. We'll definitely have craft cocktails, which we're excited to say. I got Warren to laugh at that one. So yeah, that'll be fun. Buy tickets, come hang out. Please dress up. Please take photos.
I feel like we should do a costume contest.
I feel like so too.
I
feel like we like always technically do at the cinema, but I feel like we should really push
for this one. It should be codified.
Yeah, maybe we'll give like some Splice merch out to best fits. Yeah,
I love that.
Which I'm sure all the fits
will
be.
Magic happens.
Yeah. This is brainstorming, baby. This is jazz.
This is jazz, baby, jazz, marketing jazz.
So I think that's all the I think those are all the things that kind of
Did we do all our things?
Yeah, those are all the things.
Oh, look at us. We're doing so well. I've got to
Yeah.
say, I miss Travis being here desperately to record with us, but I do feed off of the energy of being able to actually see Warren, which I usually can't where he's sitting. And
you get to you get to see. I have the camera right in the way of Warren. So.
Oh, well, yeah, you'll have to see him better peek around the corners.
Yeah. Hi, he moved.
Aw, but
and then Trav listens to us when we're gone, which he gets very excited to learn along with all of you. So
yeah, so it's I'm feeding off of the little bits of Warren giggles that I can see that none of you can.
Yeah. Sometimes we get them recorded.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a series of birthday episodes coming up in the next couple of months, which we're going to try and bully both Travis and Warren.
Yeah, we got
to make
some
brief
pics
appearances on.
I'm very excited about. On that note, should we talk? I mean, obviously we know we're talking about the craft. I'm talking about the faculty,
which are from 96 and 98, which I think may be, apart from X and Pearl, the closest in time that we've had to films released that we're talking about, because and it very much feels like it. They both kind of feel like they live in the same LA, you know, like they exist within the same universe almost.
Just like two schools over.
Exactly.
Like one's definitely like a valley school. The other one's definitely like I would say more towards like the beach area. So
like I could see when
we got like a Burbank and like a Santa Monica.
I'm gonna nod along like I know LA neighborhoods well enough to be able to understand the stereotypes attached to that.
Suburbs versus like a little bit like in the city.
I've spent a total of 72 hours in LA in my lifetime, so
and you're like, that was enough. Like that's it for me.
I was like, I loved it too much. If I stay any longer, I'm never gonna leave, and it's gonna be bad for me. So that's Yep.
I stay too long. It was bad for me.
There you go. Hey.
But
that's what New Mexico's for, baby.
Yeah, I'm excited about these ones.
I'm so excited. Do you have a tidbit?
I have. Okay, so I was telling Warren I had a tidbit, couldn't find it, of why I brought a prop mug with me today. So again, for those of you
amazing.
Watching, so
what does it say?
This says, well, I'm gonna read you my thing first. Okay. So my tidbit's more of an Al tidbit than anything, kind of.
Again, I love an Al tidbit. Live for an Al tidbit.
I love this. I'm so glad that you're into these. Who knows if anyone else is? So around 13 minutes into the faculty, the printed sign in the faculty lounge taped up next to like all of the water bottles reads, "The flogging will continue until morale improves."
Yes.
Which is what my cup says that I got at Ren Fair for Pirates Weekend.
Oh.
And fun fact, it didn't happen because I was getting alcohol and I missed it. But you get a little patch and you can get flogged there. And so people have like little like Girl Scouts like things and you can get like patches for it, but it's to get flogged.
What?
And I'm very upset that I missed it. So you get flogged and you go back, you let them know you got flogged, and then you get a little patch. I was excited about it. TMI, baby. Here's the thing.
Many questions about
this. It's in public, and it's Pirates Weekend, and there are children around, so it's very PG flogging.
How PG can it possibly be to be receiving rewards for how well you take a flogging people?
Well, you don't have to take it well. You just have to do it.
So just my point.
Here's the thing. I might be desensitized because I used to go to a bar in LA called Bar Sinister.
Ooh.
And they would have like flogging, and I forget what it's called when you tie people up too. But they like in the upstairs, So they would have that like demonstrations like on the hour every hour there, and I knew some friends. I made some friends who
That's all I'm gonna say.
It was a really cool goth club. The first time I took Trav
that.
there was after one of our anniversary dinners, and the man was wearing a pink banana printed shirt.
Yes.
And I was like, this is just the cutest.
The shirt pink or
the shirt was
bananas
pink and the bananas were banana colored.
Okay, great.
A ripe banana color.
Okay, great. Fabulous. Just really needed to get the mental image.
Yeah. And it was like Trav, I think at the time we both had like dyed hair, so he might have had like teal hair and stuff. So we stood out like a sore thumb.
Trav had teal hair?
We used to dye our hair.
How have I never seen pictures of this?
I got him. He did
my God.
Pink, he had blonde.
Need
teal.
to see this afterwards.
Yeah. We kind of matched our hair from time to time.
So gay.
I know.
So gay. Oh, that's so fucking gay. I love it.
Anyways.
Okay, that was a glorious Altid.
Yeah.
Off to
God, you guys got a lot of information. I gotta shut up here sometimes. Forget all of you are eavesdropping, you little creeps.
Let's be fair, I'm drawing it out of you here.
And I'm autistic, so sometimes it's either the floodgate is closed or it's
we'll see.
flung open. I can't find how to shut it again.
Yeah. On the podcast, floodgates are just open.
God, I know.
None of the floodgates are shut here, baby.
That's why we listen back and we're like, was that okay? Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll let that go.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody comments on it.
So that's mine. Do you have one?
I do have one. So,
like, should I drink my coffee out of that? It might be hard. We'll see. I have to pour it in there.
Your coffee, your grog out of the mug you brought from Pirates Weekend, perhaps?
My grog.
Isn't grog a good word? I
yeah,
thought about the word grog.
That's great.
Sorry, tidbit time. Got distracted there by the
vlogging.
The word.
The public vlogging.
I'm fine, guys. So as you informed us on I believe it was our very first episode.
Oh my God.
When we did our top 5 Halloween watches, and I picked The Craft as my number 2. You told me, and I did not know, that Fairuza Balk was a practicing witch at the time of making this movie. I have a whole segment on Fairuza Balk's relationship to witchcraft, because I did kind of a deep dive on it. It's a rich, complicated tapestry we're going to explore. But did you know that according to both the actors, the director, and several other cast members, they actually cast a spell while they were doing the beach conjuring scene?
Oh.
Have you heard about this story?
I don't think I knew this.
Yes. Okay, so one of the delightful things about The Craft being such a cult classic is that in the past couple of years there have been a lot of kind of gathering the cast and crew together to do, like, there's this one amazing oral history of The Craft that I found. There's a lot of great interview material on it, both from the time period and from like the decades ensuing.
Which is so nice.
It's so satisfying. So I have long notes. I cut it down a lot, but I have
I have 9 pages today.
I have 10.
Warren's gonna make sure to give us our start the timer, Warren. You gotta make sure to cut.
Forgot to ask about that.
We only have 2 hours and 30 minutes on the card.
Okay, so quote from director Andrew Fleming: when they were calling the corners on the beach, that scene, which, like, it's probably the most memorable scene in the movie.
I have something to say about that scene. I might bring it up in this moment when you're done.
Oh, perfect. Yes. The park ranger had said, "This is the highest the waves will go at high tide." So we moved our circle of fire inland from there. But it was just this odd thing where when the girls started the incantations, the waves kind of came up. At one point, a wave came and wiped the whole set out. It's actually in the movie really briefly, and I paused it and watched it. You can actually see when the camera is spinning around, a wave wipes out the fire. It seemed like every time we went outside, something happened. It was a spooky atmosphere on set. And then I found another quote from him several years later. He says, first of all, there were bats swooping over Fairuza Balk's head the entire time they were filming, which, like, of course.
Yeah, what a dream.
Right? And then he says, every time the girls started the ceremony, and only when they would start the ceremony, the waves would start coming up tremendously fast, pounding heavily. Then right when Nancy says her line, "Manon, fill me," right at that exact moment, we lost power. The generator went out. It was a very strange thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever... You practice witchcraft, right? Like, yeah. You dabble.
There's more than dabbling going. There's whole bookshelves.
Yeah. Same. I have,
we're
like, a
gonna
journal.
get into it.
I used to have, like, a really big altar. I've since downsized since moving here. So it's just like things. I have things places. But one of the reasons I got my when I got my favorite murder, I did a spell for it, and the next day. And I was, like, in a drought of finding work that, like, felt like something, like,
fulfilling.
For me. Yeah. And I did a spell the next day.
Same thing when I got the job, when you plucked me from my previous job. Yeah, so maybe I worked a spell on you.
Yeah, must have. Good.
All this time you thought that you were coming and stealing me. Yeah. Now the truth comes out.
A year later.
Yeah, no, it had been like May, and you hired me in August, and I'd, like, forgotten that I'd done that.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'd, like, gone
I
to
believe
the
it.
video.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's
I believe it.
I think especially, like, our ties to nature is so I always say, for people who are like, oh, like, the earth and, like, all these things don't affect me, blah blah blah, and I'm like, it literally scientifically affects nature, and we are nature. Like, the tides, the moon, like, it's not,
we're 70% water, people.
Yeah, there's
like,
science
of course.
in that, you know, with other species, and it's like, who's to say it's not super true with us as well. So I'm like, just think of it from a
Mhm.
scientific point. If you don't really believe in it, there is things that are just inherently
Just
true.
observable.
Yeah. So I love that.
Ugh.
And yeah, that
Completely
I love
tracks.
that they had that on the set though, 'cause I
Right?
feel like that's what made this feel so real, and why I think
Yeah.
it's held up. Why it doesn't feel
Mhm.
like a hocus pocus movie. Like
Exactly.
it feels grounded in like
Mhm.
what
There's
witchcraft
so much
and Wicca like feels
there's so
like.
much realness behind it.
Yeah.
Even behind the most supernatural elements of it.
Yeah. Ugh, I love that.
It's so satisfying, right? Well, and it's also kind of going off of that, one of the things that Andrew Fleming, the director, says in one of the interviews that I found talking about it in like 2017, I think, so more recently, is he gives this whole kind of really lovely comparison between the experience of filmmaking itself and being on a set and filming actors doing this ritual, basically, and magic, and is like, these are the same thing. And I just want
magic, baby.
Making magic, and I just wanted to shout out Silver Nitrate again, the book that I mentioned last time, because that's basically the whole concept behind that book, is like filmmaking as like magic. And it's at Beasley right now. So
and use our code, you get 10% off.
There you go.
Baby.
Yeah, and I think it just came out in paperback like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So and so good. So if you're into the idea of 90s film magic witchcraft stuff.
Silver Nitrate.
Wanted to give it another little
cover
too.
too.
Plug for that. It does. It really like matches our theme here.
I love that you love that. That's so cool.
So good. So thanks Andy at Beasley for that recommendation. So shall we dive in with our tidbits out of the way? So I brought a tagline in for you, which I normally don't think to do.
Yes!
But you're rubbing off on me, Al. I had to. And there's only one that I could find for this one.
Oh, really?
So I couldn't do
God,
like
I
a
have so many.
comparison. How do you always get the ones with multiple taglines?
Here's the thing. Look at what my movie was compared. Like, I always get a little bit of like the campier movies,
which like I love,
Yeah,
because that's
so
like it's
come
two
with
sides of
that.
the same coin, you know. But this one, the tagline was "Welcome to the Witching Hour," which I love. I think it's cute.
It's sweet.
It's cute, yeah.
Again, they're not playing into this like we're hocus pocus like fake like what you think magic is in a movie. They're really like grounded, so it makes sense for them.
It feels
real.
Yeah.
Cute.
Feels real.
Cute.
So directed by Andrew Fleming, as I mentioned, who also did Nancy Drew.
Okay.
He did a whole bunch of Emily in Paris.
I love
Which
Emily in Paris. It's
I
such a guilty
haven't
pleasure.
seen it, but
It's no offense. It's bad in the best way.
oh, I love that. That makes sense. For
And like
the
I can't
person who
stand her,
directed
but
the
I also
craft.
can't get enough. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
perfect sense.
The men are really hot in it. To be fair.
He also did an episode of Arrested Development, which I love. There's also an actor from Arrested Development in your movie. He did Hamlet 2. He did the movie Dick. Mostly works.
God.
Yeah.
The one with Kirsten Dunst?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, I had that VHS.
Mhm. So he's mainly a comedy guy, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah.
And his 2018 film Ideal Home with Steve Coogan, based partially on his own experiences as a gay parent, which I thought that to me also kind of goes a little bit to why this film
So queer.
holds up as well as it does and is as good as it is, because it is so gay.
Yeah.
It's so it's so
this
queer.
is such a gay film.
Yeah.
I love it.
And what I wrote down was like, thank God, because no straight person could have successfully made this movie.
I don't think you could have captured 4 female characters in such an intimate thing of like
at
being
that
a coven.
age in high school too, at that like moment of like trying to find yourself as like a person coming into like adult like attraction.
Yeah.
That's like, it's just gay. It's just gay.
You really got
Like,
it on like a very again, there's just such a real, it's so grounded.
And a lot of it actually draws from his own high school experiences, which we'll talk about that too. But yeah, this is as we'll get into in the script phase, this is a heavily researched and personal movie in many different ways, which we love.
Yes.
So screenplay by Andrew Fleming, the director, and Peter Filardi, who also wrote Flatliners and a couple episodes of Salem's Lot, which I thought was interesting.
Cool.
Stars Robin Tunney as Sarah, who was also in The Mentalist and had just come off of Empire Records when she was filming this, which is why
Do
she
you
has
have the wig fact?
yeah. Oh.
I feel like that's the most notorious fact about this film.
Well, and it's such a bad wig
It's so bad.
too. It's like
I know
it's like a straight line across her forehead. It's so.
I'm gonna be honest. We're
weird.
getting back into really bad wigs in film.
Oh yeah.
It's really bad.
Nobody
again.
cares about
They need
wigs
to get some
anymore. What's going
They need
on?
to get some drag queens on there, man.
It's not like we don't have the technology.
No, we have it. The drag queens have.
Yes.
Did the drag queens steal it all?
No. They've taken all the good wigs.
This is for us.
There's a wig shortage in the straight world now.
The straights are running out of wigs left and right.
They've been snatched. What can we say?
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh my god.
A wig shortage is so funny to me.
A wig shortage in the straight
Oh
world.
my god. Headlines everywhere.
Yep. Okay, so we have Neve Campbell as Bonnie,
Yeah.
also in Wild Things, and of course Scream, but Scream had not come out at the time that she made this, and I believe this shot first, so this is kind of, she is, as they say in the interviews, she is not the famous Neve Campbell at the time that they're making this. She's done one season of Party of Five, and that's it. And we have Rachel True as Rochelle, who's also in Half Baked, Half and Half, and Greg Araki's Nowhere, which I just finally watched this past weekend, and I am obsessed.
Oh, I haven't
Al.
watched that yet.
It's, I know
that
we've talked about
poster is burned into my brain though, and I still haven't watched it. I don't know why. I haven't watched it. I know. Is it me coded? Is that what you sent me a thing of?
So al-coded. I mean, it's the Doom Generation, but starring Rachel True.
My friend Liz just watched Doom
Yes.
Generation.
Yes, I
which,
saw.
You guys' recommendation. It's not
I
horror,
follow
but it's
Liz on
fucking
Letterboxd
weird.
now.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
If
Noted.
you, I think if you listen to this podcast, you'd probably like Doom Generation, even though it's not straight horror.
It's adjacent.
It's campy. It's gory. It's
It is
grotesque.
gory.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
there's some modern gore in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, and a lot of this show is just going to be the Rachel True appreciation show. She's amazing. She gave the best interviews about this. I got a ton of facts from her. She's everything.
Yeah.
She's everything.
Oh,
so
bless.
we're gonna get into that. And of course, our beloved Fairuza Balk as Nancy Downs, who also in Ray Donovan, Almost Famous, American History X, Return to Oz.
Oh, she's so good and Almost Famous.
She's so good in everything.
I know. She's
everything.
She's that girl.
And Gas Food Lodging, which I've brought up before, I think. It's maybe my favorite shot in New Mexico movie.
Oh wow. Okay.
And takes place in New Mexico.
Yeah.
And stars Fairuza Balk as a white trash character growing up in a trailer park in New Mexico. And
Sounds familiar.
it's and who's
That's
like
also her in
in
the craft, but
that
you know.
no, that's what I'm saying is because like they talk a lot about Gas Food Lodging being part of why they cast her in this.
Wow. That
Because
makes
she
sense.
gives this incredible performance in that and became kind of this like indie darling from that role.
Yeah, I can see that.
But they describe her at the time that she's cast in this as being kind of an actor's actor, so somebody that like people in the business know and respect,
Oh,
but
wow.
wasn't a superstar at the time. So
Even still, she's not a superstar, which is such like a bummer.
it's such a shame. And I
Yeah.
feel like part of it is that this is the performance that she's known for most in culture, which
Yeah.
we'll talk about. There are a lot of more famous actors who were almost cast as Sarah in this movie. And I think that had they been cast in The Craft, they might not have gone on to the careers they had because The Craft itself is so singular and
Yeah.
is so memorable that
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like kind of like the curse of playing the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, where like then that becomes the only thing you're known for, you know?
Is
Like
that a thing?
yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Wizard of Oz. Unpopular opinion, I know. It's fine. I also think Grease 2 is the better movie of the Greases, so you know.
Haven't seen Grease 2, but I could see that much more than I could see Al not liking The Wizard of Oz.
sorry.
But we're
Doesn't
going to get
do it
into
for
that
me.
later. There's not time. We have The Craft
Yeah,
to
I
talk
was gonna
about.
say we have so
I'm
much
fine.
to talk about. Shit.
I have no feelings on that opinion, Al.
I don't. Steam's coming out for me.
I'm fine. Just think about public floggings. Yeah. Just
Reset the
concentrate.
brain.
Bring it back in. We also get Breckin Meyer. We get Skeet Ulrich. Ulrich? How is his last name
I
pronounced?
say Ulrich.
Ulrich? Okay. We're going to go with
Now I
Ul-
don't. Oh my god, now you made me do the thing where I don't know.
Good.
But Skeet.
Skeet.
Yeah.
We've
we
got
love him.
our boy
Ugh,
Skeet,
he's so hot.
who they also talk about at the time. Robin Tunney knew him.
I know this one.
Oh,
This
you might
fact.
actually know more than I do.
Mm.
But basically, just that they really didn't want to cast Skeet Ulrich, and she kept pushing and pushing for it and being like, "Trust me, people are gonna like it."
Yeah,
And then,
they were besties. That's why. So she was like, no, I got a guy.
oh,
And
that's
so she was, yeah, they were like really good friends. And so
cute.
she was like, come on.
Ugh, well,
That's
and,
sweet.
and the director, in retrospect, talks about what a hard role he has in this film because he has to kind of flip on a dime between this kind of understandable puppy dog love that you empathize with into this terrifying monster
Yeah.
in a way that is convincing and real,
Yeah.
that doesn't just feel like a caricature, which it would be easy for it to do. And he's
Oh, yeah. It
he's
would be.
great at playing a creep.
I was
He
gonna say,
does it
in
really
Scream,
well.
too, with
Yes, he's
Billy, so.
he's great at playing.
Yeah, he can play that like dual.
Mhm.
Even in yeah, he's really good. I feel like he's such an underrated actor too.
He's a talented guy,
Yeah.
especially for this kind of part.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he was so baby.
so baby. So now we come to, is she or is she not? The Fairuza witch trials.
Oh my god.
So-
Dong.
Yeah. Okay, so we have to pause here because unfortunately, Fairuza
Should I light
Balk-
the steak?
Yes,
Just in case?
please.
It could be crackling in the background. Or an ad effect. Do a little fire burning behind us as we
Get us
and
like
peasants,
a pond ready so that we can
kill the witch.
Yeah, there we go.
In the
Yeah,
background.
yeah.
We'll do that.
Do a little drowning, see if she floats. If she does, she's a
We
witch.
get some
and
water
then
in the
we've gotta
background,
kill her.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay,
Set the scene.
so as of 2017,
Okay.
Fairuza Balk really wants the world to know that she wasn't actually a practicing witch.
Oh, yeah,
How-
didn't she like come? She did like a full circle.
She did a full circle.
Okay.
However, I think there's more to the story.
Yeah.
I'm going to present you with quotes from her interview, and then I'm
Okay.
going to present you with other people's quotes.
Okay. From 2017 quotes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we'll leave it up to you to decide what you think. Either way, it's at least very easy to see where the story would come from. And it's clear that there's more to it than meets the eye. That's
Yeah.
all we're going to say.
Okay.
So here's her quote from 2017. The true story is that I found this, and I lost my place in my notes. I found this occult shop in LA, and I used to go there to ask them questions and do my research. They were really lovely people. The woman who owned it wanted to retire. She couldn't put the kind of money into it that they needed to keep it up, and it was going to be turned into a Chinese restaurant. So I thought, for the oldest occult shop in the country, that's a tragedy. So I bought it and put some work into it and helped it survive. But people, of course, were like, she bought an occult shop and she's fully into this and it's all real. That's taken on its entire own mythology that's essentially out of my hands. She's since sold the shop, but it is still going strong. I
Aw.
looked it up.
What shop is it?
It's called, at the time that she bought it, it was called Panpipe's Magical Marketplace.
Okay.
It's now called Pan's Apotheca. If you want to follow, they've got an Instagram. It's at Pan's, PANSAPOTHIKA, Apotheca.
What neighborhood?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know
Oh my
LA.
God,
It's somewhere in LA.
Oh god, that's huge.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I was wondering if I ever like passed by it. That's so cool.
So
Okay.
we know that those are the facts. However,
Are they?
we know that she bought the shop in 95, sold it according to her in 2001, shot the craft in 95. Also, as we were talking about, at the time that she's cast in the craft, the thing that she's best known for is probably Gas Food Lodging, which is a Sundance indie movie. And I'm like, how does she have the money to just
I was thinking that too. I was like, how
Yeah.
much did she have then to buy
To
a
just-
shop? Are her parents? Is she a nepo?
I don't think
Mm.
so, but to just be buying a magic shop,
Yeah.
I'm like, there's
Like
more to
super
this.
casual.
It's
Like
just-
what? How old was she? Like 20?
Well, that's the thing is like, again, this is so early in her career. And I'm like, okay, something about this timeline is sounding a little weird.
Yeah.
And so then I read quotes from all the people who were working with her at the time. And I would like to point out a couple of things.
Oh,
So,
point them out with your witchly little finger.
and again,
With your
takes one to
long,
know
bony
one,
witch finger.
Fairuza. I'm not saying this judging you as a non-witch.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't care either way.
oh,
But
I
I'm
care.
just,
I
like,
want her to be
just,
a witch.
I want.
but-
Well, yeah, she gives witch.
She
I just
gives
want her to be
witch.
authentic about it.
Exactly. But so across decades, from the time that the movie is made up until the present, anytime any of her coworkers are asked about it, the director, any of the other stars, they're all like, oh yeah, she was a practicing Wiccan.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they cite specific examples. She was like sitting around the set reading Kabbalah books.
Right. Even in interviews, I can't even talk because I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. And here's which, like, I'm like, at the time, particularly in 95, I feel like if you're really like, I'm just doing this to research this role, I just want to be really authentic about it, I feel like you would correct your coworkers about that and be like, I'm doing this to research this role.
Yeah.
Never seems to have done that.
I feel like I never heard any, and I feel like I've watched a lot of like behind the scenes of this, at least like a few years ago.
And when you watch behind the scenes interviews from like the 90s into 2000s, she's just talking about like, oh yeah, I believe in this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And so, and then I was like, okay, but here's the cincher for me. Here's the thing that really made me think, you're not telling us the full truth here, Fairuza. Andrew Fleming, the director, says that he cast Fairuza off of a combination of having seen her in Gas Food Lodging and going to get coffee with her and finding out that she was, quote unquote, really knowledgeable and a practicing pagan and knew all of this background about Wiccanism and about the history of this material. And I'm like, okay, if we believe Fairuza that she only did this for research, then you're saying that this actor who, on the one hand, had enough money from her acting career to be able to casually buy a Wicca shop, also was so desperate to get this role that she spent months and months researching the entire history of Wiccanism and, like, just for the sake of trying to get this role that she didn't even have to audition for. So
I wonder if she, like, it got into a point in her career where she was like, I'm only known for this thing. Her PR team, her management was like, why don't we flip the script, say you weren't actually, and like maybe they created like a new narrative for her or like tried. But I just feel like when you're known, like the more you lean into it, I mean, look at fucking Matthew Lillard is having like this whole renaissance right now because he's never gone the opposite direction of who he was.
He knows
and, like,
who he
and
is.
he can act his pants off,
Absolutely.
and so can she. So I'm like, I wonder if she like had like a, or like, I wonder if she had like a moment.
change of heart or something. It seems like maybe her relationship to Wicca has changed.
And so like her whole
her presentation of it. But it just like
that.
It just seems to me like you lay it all out on the table.
Yeah, it's weird to say like I never was versus I'm not anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, which trial is guilty? Burner.
Thank you.
Fire effect. Scream.
Ding, ding, ding.
We better do this. I'm not kidding.
You know we can.
If you're listening, you'll know.
There you go. All right, so background. The original idea came partially from producer Douglas Wick, who was like, let's do high school but make it witchcraft.
Yeah.
Filardi, the co-writer, then comes on, does a ton of research, does the first draft, and then Fleming is brought on to write several other drafts before he's given the assignment to direct it.
Got it.
So it's this collaborative process. According to IMDb, the original script and the first several edits of the film kind of imply that Sarah's the only one with real powers and that the rest are just kind of leeching off of her, which is really interesting.
But it feels like that even now.
There's still elements of that, but I like that they don't make that as
how would it have ended?
Explicit? I don't know.
If they didn't have.
I mean, yeah,
it stole all of them by the end. Maybe
who knows? To me, it feels like so much of what is so powerful about this film is the sense that each of them, that they all need each other to produce the most power and to initiate the circle.
It's also like such a, I think both these films, like, you know, acceptance and finding who you are, finding like your group of people and your coven, and like how rare that feels already.
Exactly.
Like that you can find these people that are so similar, have like interests like so, because I feel like in high school too, I don't know if it's true for you, but like I was friends with a lot of people. My core group of friends, we obviously had a lot of things in common, but I never really felt like I belonged with them. I saw
yeah.
other people that I felt like I belonged with better, but then I think they had this perception of who I was because of what I did and who I hung out with. And so I'm like, but no, I'm like I felt like if I talked to people like nerds or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like the
people
outcast
that you
groups,
relate to.
yeah, I felt like they thought I was being like inauthentic, and I was like, no, this is actually really who I am.
Yeah.
I was a floater anyways, like no one really gave a shit about me. But you know, so I feel like in that, like I don't know why I started talking about this, but like I love that element in this.
Yes. No, I think it's
so like the needing each other, that's what you're saying. So like the
yeah.
needing of each other's like to find that is such a unique experience and the same that it would be to find your coven.
Absolutely. Well, and it's like that kind of the thin line between dependency and codependency is so much of what this movie is about, and part of what makes it so painful.
Yeah.
But anyway, just I
love that.
I thought that's a really interesting kind of twist on the story, and I'm glad that it doesn't. I'm glad that it is more complicated in the final version.
Oh yeah.
They also originally wrote this movie, did everything they could to make this movie a PG-13. It's still an R. The director's
Is it an R?
It's an R, which it
Oh.
doesn't seem like it should be, right?
No.
The director's salty about it.
I'm a little
for good
salty about
reason.
it.
He says that according to Fleming, we weren't using the F word or having any nudity, and then right before shooting, the MPAA notified us, because we'd, I guess, sent the script to them, that no matter what we did, the movie would be an R rating. They said it was black magic and teenagers. And I said,
oh my god, I was gonna write. I was gonna
yes,
the witchcraft.
Yes! Yeah! That's what it is, Al! You were right! You're thinking like the MPAA!
I'm thinking like a straight, cis, white man.
See, again, this is why the straights couldn't make this
Women
movie.
are too powerful.
Yes, yeah.
Brother.
We're getting in there.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, they said black magic and teenagers, and I said,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
We need shirts that say it's because black magic and
teenagers. Okay, love that.
Right?
Oh, would wear the fuck out of that.
Okay, merch drop part 2 coming soon.
Yep. Got to do
During
that with the haunted doll.
Yeah, during
energy.
winter solstice. Just saying.
Holiday
Write that
season,
down.
baby.
Guys, write that down.
Oh my god.
Jot that down for me so I don't forget. DM us.
Oh my god. And I said, hold on, paganism and Wicca and witchcraft are not black magic. Black magic is devil worship. We'd made that distinction very clear and early, that it's not about devil worship. But they wouldn't budge, so it was frustrating. And Wick, one of the producers, is like, I kind of think it's because our culture didn't know how to talk about teen suicide at the time, which I think is a really good point and also super interesting, because this is coming out 7 years after Heathers came out, which is brutally explicit about teen suicide.
Also, this was pre or post Columbine?
Both our movies are pre-Columbine, which like feels like this horrible specter haunting both of them in some ways, particularly the faculty, because it's kids bringing guns into school and shooting their teachers.
Isn't it wild? Like now, like watching it nowadays, like how jarring guns in a school can feel, or like guns.
Like now you
in
couldn't
teens'
even
hands.
make that in the same way, because you just think of school shooters.
It's
and
so
like,
bad.
Like school shooter is a term now in a way that I don't think even was in the vocabulary at that time. But anyway, so glad you were thinking about that too. Both Columbine was 99, 96, 98 for the films. So kind of just beforehand, but we're in the moment in American culture out of which that incident sprung. And you actually kind of set me up interestingly here. Filardi, in particular, cited the story of Ricky Casso, the Acid King murderer, as one of...
I don't think I've heard of this one.
I had to do a deep dive into not a huge deep dive, but anytime there's like a...
Quick goggle.
Search. Because again, weirdly, these little like true crime threads keep weaving through the horror films we're talking about. So Filardi was inspired the first several drafts writing this by the Acid King, who was this guy who murdered his friend at 17 they thought it was mescaline. It turned out it was probably acid. He then committed suicide. It was this horrible thing. There's kind of a lot of imagery from that woven through the film. And Filardi, the snakes.
I got a snake ring on today.
Well, and Filardi called him a pioneer in teen Satanism, which I think it's more like a pioneer in the Satanic Panic. The Ricky Casso case was one of the primary ones that kind of set off the Satanic Panic.
There's a new movie coming out with Bruce Campbell's making an appearance in like a Satanic Panic. Yeah, isn't that cool? I saw the trailer the other day.
That's so exciting.
Awesome.
Ah, love. Yeah. So anyway, there's some interesting
ties to that.
Interesting ties to actual teen murders woven through this film and its production. But Doug Wick, producer that I was just mentioning, also normally when you get these kind of Hollywood produced higher budget movies, higher budget compared to some of the stuff we've talked about. This isn't Last House on the Left, you know? It's not a huge budget, but we'll get there. A lot of the time with those kinds of movies, the quotes you get from producers feel very kind of rehearsed and not, producers are usually the people making the deals. They're the money people. I was really impressed by Doug Wick's creative insight into this movie. I was going to say,
it's always fun to find a producer that has that instinct in them versus just you're like, stay away versus, no, actually, come over here.
He clearly was a big part. I mean, he was the one who kind of originated the idea behind this.
Yeah.
So, I pulled many more quotes from him than I was expecting to. Wanted to shout him out. Also thought it was interesting watching the credits. He's the only producer who gets credited at the end. And usually you have I don't know, anywhere between 3 and 12 producers.
For sure.
So this guy had a big hand in this movie. That's all I wanted to say. So quote from him on kind of the inspiration behind why make this movie. Again, almost all these quotes come from an oral history of the craft, which I can share a link to if folks want to read it. Doug Wick says, "I've always been very interested in female empowerment, and my first movie was Working Girl," which I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense in some ways. I was sort of thinking about teenage girls and how they suddenly come into this enormous power of their sexuality and how to maybe make a movie about that. I was very aware that witchcraft is an age-old metaphor for talking about female empowerment and the sort of mysteries of women and their connection to nature in terms of reproductivity. I started talking to different directors and writers about how to approach this, and I talked to several people who were way too genre and didn't really understand. This seemed like a great petri dish for examining young women. And I was like,
whoa.
Love the intellectual curiosity. Hate the term petri dish for examining young women.
That. But I don't know why. You know what it was? I used to have what's it called?
Microscope?
I was like, wait, am I going to say something really stupid? Okay, I was right. I used to have one of those. It used to be something I would play with as a kid.
I had my my grandpa's microscope as a little kid and also played with it. Those tracks.
Yeah.
Microscope gaze. But small microscope gaze.
Truly. I was also magnet set science experiment guy.
Yep.
But
weren't we all?
I love that he also calls it what it is, which is this fear of female empowerment.
Exactly.
It's so refreshing to hear.
No, reading the quotes from the male creatives behind this movie, because again, it's an all male creative team.
Is wild.
It's wild. It doesn't feel like it. And I was like, again, thank God they had a gay writer director. It makes such a difference.
Yeah, no toxic masculinity on set.
Yeah, but they were so intentional about what they were doing with this movie. That's so.
It's so nice because it feels that way. So it's nice to know that it was
it's validating
behind it.
Yeah, because sometimes you can have a movie like this that feels really empowering and amazing to watch as a femme, that you read interviews from the creators and it becomes clear that that's not intentional.
And then you watch it back and
you're like, this ickiness comes through. This is not one of those cases. This is an extremely smart team behind this movie. Filardi quote while we're in the writing room. He said, "Doug and I," that's the producer we were just talking about, "spoke for hours about magic, mushrooms, and ecstasy." I
thought that was an end quote.
Honestly, that pretty much is the important part. I remember telling him that magic is historically a weapon of the underclass. It was originally practiced by people of the heath, or heathens, poor people without the power of a king, army, or church behind them. Our characters could not be popular, beautiful overlords of their school. For real magic to work, they would have to be outsiders with more than desires. Real magic requires need. Again,
cool.
Snaps, man.
Yeah, so many snaps. Damn.
So many. The fact that there's also such class awareness to this film, that you read these quotes and you're like, oh, this is something they were really thinking about the whole time. And again, as we get more into Rachel True's character, we're going to talk about some of the class elements that were excised from this in the cutting room that were intended to be part of the story. But speaking of Rachel True's character, Andrew Fleming takes credit for deciding that the character is going to be Black and experiencing racism. It was originally written as a white character with bulimia. I think that it is maybe giving himself a little bit too much credit and Rachel True not enough credit, because she had to really push to get this role and went through a lot of different auditions, and we're going to get into some of
She's Rochelle, right?
Yes. Yeah. We're going to get into some of her horror stories behind the ways that her experience of making this movie was different from the white actresses working on it. But anyway, not the director's fault, not the creative team's fault, kind of the marketing team's fault. But yeah. Anyway.
Bad marketing,
Bad marketing. But so Andrew Fleming said, the idea that Bonnie had been burned, that was my idea. There was a girl in my dorm room. This is where I was saying...
Oh, drawing from real life.
It gets really into things that even if they didn't happen to Fleming himself, he was clearly paying close attention to things that were happening around him in his high school experience. He talks a lot about how high school was very traumatic for him, and a couple of the stories he cites makes it clear why. So, trigger warning here, but there was a girl in my dorm room who tried to kill herself, and I found her with her wrists cut. There was a girl in my dorm room who had burns like that, and I was intrigued by her. There was a lot of weird bigotry in high school, and I think I personalized it. And I was sitting with that, and I was like, I mean, even if you're not the one with a suicide attempt in your personal history, being the person to discover somebody in the midst of an attempt like that, that's fucking traumatic, man. That's gonna scar you. And so I think that's part of why also, especially, you know, as someone who's been hospitalized myself, as somebody who made my first film about a best friend's suicide, the way, and this is something I
college.
talked about.
My friends, Liz knows. But it's also a topic that needs to be talked about.
It is. And like, I don't mean to like get sides. Too dark, but like, you know, when you've got the producers talking about how they think that's part of why the film got an R rating, when you've got, to me, that's one of the most potent parts of the film is the way it deals with her suicide attempt and her hallucinations around her suicide attempt and stuff like that. And so knowing that it comes from somebody who had the experience of having that touch their lives personally, it's like,
again, it's
I
grounded
trust it.
Yeah.
It's grounded. So, and TW, just wanted to like, you know, I think it's important to talk about.
Absolutely. It makes sense for the 90s for that. I feel like even today, like that's
even
such
today, we're not good at talking about it. We're really not. And it's part of why I think movies like this have so much staying power, because it becomes, when you are a depressed teen, as many teens are, movies that are honest about that become like these oases of, you know, understanding.
And just I think not, like, for myself, going through really bad depression in college, this was like one of the movies that I told you, like, I used to just watch movies like from the top of the day to the end. I would watch The Craft, I think, like 4 times in a day some days.
Oh, I totally get it.
That this was my comfort movie because I felt like it wasn't stigmatizing it. It wasn't making me feel bad about like my experiences, my feelings around, you know.
Especially like as somebody who at the worst of my own depression experienced hallucinations, which is not something people talk about connected to depression, but like is a thing that happens, like medically speaking. Seeing this was like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like,
it was again, you use that word validated. I feel like we'll probably say that a lot in this, but it was that film. And again, it's so nice to hear that was coming from real, like, hate that it was coming from real.
That happened. Glad that nobody died in this story, you know, like in real life or in The Craft, actually. I think I mean, Chris dies, but none of the 4 girls. Nobody who doesn't deserve it.
The women don't die.
The women don't die. That's all I care about.
To bring this back on a way, you know? The men died. Ha ha ha. Just kidding.
But seriously, like, for the amount of near misses that we have, the fact that nobody... It could easily end with Nancy dying, and it doesn't.
Oh my God,
You know? And it could easily end with Sarah dying, and it doesn't. And I think that's intentional. And I think that's also part of why.
Well, it's like you can get through this.
Yes,
I think that's, again, these films are similar in certain themes.
Totally.
Which I didn't
It's a
realize
really
how similar they were.
You picked a good
certain-
pairing, Al. You picked a good pairing.
Again,
Also,
Jazz.
one last writing note, and then we'll get into shooting. Filardi was listening to a lot of Hole while he was writing this, which I had to shout out for Ward in particular.
I thought for my brain, I don't know if you saw the glint in my eye, but then I realized it's before Holes came out. I thought you were going to say Hole. I don't know if you saw, but I was like, Al, this is 96. But my eyes like went like this, and I'm like, Holes?
My fan fiction.
He was reading my fan fiction at the time. Oh
my god, I love that.
Hole's great. Come on.
So he was listening to
So
Hole while he
90s.
was working on this. He was reading lots of Joseph Campbell. He was reading lots of Scott Cunningham. Also, the invocation scene text comes from the Book of Ceremonial Magic by Arthur Edward Waite, who I wanted to shout out because his name will sound familiar to any of my tarot girls in the audience, as the co-originator of the Rider Waite tarot deck, which is the most most
Universally
popular used tarot deck.
Oh, very
these days.
cool. Didn't know that.
Yeah,
gotta
I don't know
break
if
out
you're a
my
tarot person.
I have,
but-
I have a really beautiful set Trav got me
Oh,
for
love
one of my
it.
birthdays.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like a floral set. It's just so pretty.
Gorgeous.
I kind of know how to read, but like only like the three.
Ooh.
I don't know how to do the bigger. My old
Oh,
roommate
I
Betsy
do
used to do
a
her
like
tarot.
15 cards. I'd love to do one for you.
Yeah, we
sometime.
gotta do that.
Yeah.
Behind the Screams?
Yes, that'd be so cute.
Yeah, it'd be really cool.
I would. Really enjoy
I know a
that.
girl.
Yeah. So, I'll show you here the Rachel True Appreciation Show.
Oh my god,
this
stop.
is
Yeah, I see all capitals
Yeah.
and highlighted.
Yeah.
Yay.
So this is
she's like my favorite character in this, so I'm so glad that you have.
I also just feel like when we talk about the craft, she is the character who gets least talked about.
Yeah.
And I feel like
I think we all know
Yeah.
why.
yeah, it's racism.
Yeah. It's
And
this little thing called
it's this
racism.
little thing called
Yeah,
racism.
she's my favorite. She also is my favorite fashion.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's what a
She's
what
that
a look.
girl, to be fair.
She's that bitch. So cast and crew. This film has some wild casting stories behind it. Obviously, in the mid 90s, 4 female leads set in high school. They don't want to cast giant stars at the time.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Hard to pitch.
Oh my god, yeah.
Hard to pitch.
Yeah, it's a hard sell. For Hollywood. Especially, I feel like at this like resurgence of like the Scream's gonna come out, like all these like
Mhm.
it's this new teens. I mean, we haven't even gotten there yet. This is the wave. The
Yeah.
wave is starting. So.
One of the things they said was like, now teen stars are a thing. At the time, they were like, pretty much all we had was Winona Ryder and Claire Danes, and that was it. Which, like, when
Good
you
2
put
picks, though, but-
amazing, but when you put it that way, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's kind of all there was.
Yeah.
And you don't want to cast Winona Ryder because she's Heathers. Like, you don't want to just redo Heathers.
Yeah.
So
And Beetlejuice too at that time.
and Beetlejuice, yeah.
So she was kind of known for
She's-
Edward Scissorhands too, probably.
So like you're not going to be able to see her and think anything but Winona Ryder at
Yeah.
that point, and they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
that, and
yeah.
I think that's smart. So they actually cast the film before they've got it funded and use a test of the 4 actors together
To
to
really show
get
the magic.
green light,
Ah.
which I think is so
That's so
delightful.
smart.
But they go through 85 actresses to find those 4 leads. And among those 85, for Sarah, they audition Alicia Silverstone. They auditioned Scarlett Johansson, who's 12 years old at the time.
Yeah, but
which
she had
like,
an old ass soul.
she did
Even
have an
now,
old
she's like, if you listen to her in interviews, grandma.
yeah. Oh, 100%.
That bitch doesn't know how to work a phone.
Yeah.
She's one of my favorite people. That bitch doesn't know how to work a phone. she's
I
like, why is it not
love
attached to the wall?
Oh my god, baby.
Yeah.
Precious.
Wow. Okay.
Also, Angelina Jolie, who they almost cast, turned it down to do Foxfire. Have you seen Foxfire?
No.
Interesting.
But her and Girl Interrupted.
Amazing.
Speaking of Winona Ryder.
Interesting that she turned this down for Foxfire because Foxfire has some parallels to this film. It's
Really?
also a like
Warren Sonata.
high school girls' revenge story.
Oh, fuck.
It doesn't
Okay.
have a supernatural element, but
Yeah.
it is very gay. She's kind of like the like queer femme fatale of the story.
Ugh, as she
Super
is in every
hot.
story.
As she is in
I
real
don't think
life.
she- yeah, yeah.
Like but I was thinking about it and I was like, it's so weird because now like nobody knows what Foxfire is really, unless
Yeah.
you're like me and you're obsessed with 90s teen movies.
I gotta watch that then.
It's
Shit.
I think it'd be up
I
your
love
alley,
her.
but I feel like, and obviously we'll never be able to prove if I'm right or wrong, so I can say this,
Yeah.
but I feel like if she had taken the craft instead of Foxfire, she might not have gone on to the career she had, because Foxfire, the most memorable thing about it is Angelina Jolie. The craft, the most memorable thing about it is the craft.
Yeah.
And so
it is wild to think about, like, what. Yeah, just this. That's why I love casting directors.
Right?
It's a career I really wanted to go into. Maybe one day. I feel like I just find like human study so interesting, and just the path that someone could be on if you go with your gut, or like see something and you're like, no, it's there. And it's casting, man, needs to be. I'm so glad it's finally. Isn't it finally in the Oscars as of this year? It was in the Oscars.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
But it's it's true. When you think of the craft, you think of the four of them. Like, it is this whole experience that, even though you think of them all from like things that they, but like
if one of them was Angelina Jolie, it would throw the balance off, and or Angelina Jolie wouldn't feel like the standout star. She would feel like one of the four in the craft.
And so it'd be so interesting to see. Well, I have something in mind too. I have a lot of notes on casting as well. I know we're like trying to keep our time because me and you have so many pages of notes, but like I have so much on casting because they kind of talked about if they recast someone else, that they had to change all the other people too. So I wonder if they cast her with the other cast, maybe they would have, like, it would have not fit and they had to recast other people.
Well, because they did. Robin Tunney was originally going to be Bonnie, and she wanted to be Bonnie instead of Sarah. They had to talk her into taking the lead because she thought that Bonnie was the more interesting character. They talked her into taking Sarah before casting Bonnie, and then I think Neve Campbell, I believe, was the last of the four to be cast, which is super interesting. Angelina Jolie. Talked about Rachel True was the first to be cast, actually, which love. Again, character was originally written as a bulimic white girl, which thank God that she's not. I think what she's actually going through is a lot more powerful. And like stomach turning, and like her performance when the white girl is bullying her, and it's just that close up.
You mean Marsha? I want to slap that bitch.
She deserves everything she gets.
Oh yeah, I was like, don't feel bad for her. Let her cry in the shower.
Absolutely,
burn her.
Yes,
put her on the stake.
Truly,
throw her out of a window.
Burn her.
She played. Ooh, I don't know if that girl's mean in real life, that actress, but like, ooh, I never hated anyone. That line with the hairbrush, like I found the hair. I'm not gonna say it,
so
but my God,
bad. It's so
But that's coming from like, I'm a white person, so like I think it's bad, but like I can't even
imagine. Yeah. It's so awful. I also hadn't realized this because I think when I first watched this movie, I was not yet an Arrested Development fan, but the actress who plays Marsha also plays a character with alopecia on Arrested Development, which I didn't realize is probably a little the craft in joke.
I bet so. I have some of those little things in mind too. But yeah, I think in the 90s too, I'm trying to think too with like in the horror like teen realm, was there ever a character at that time that was like her, that wasn't like, oh, comedy, whatever, and like,
and
you know
we're
what I mean?
gonna
Like
talk about that, because I've got again amazing quotes from Rachel True, because this is the Rachel True Appreciation Show.
Rachel True Show,
in fact, let me jump ahead to that because it's.
I'm glad we're talking about her, because when everyone, I don't know why, I just never know actors' names. But she's always, when people ask, she's always my favorite character.
I also just had like such a crush on her in high school.
They're all so pretty.
They're all so gorgeous, but like
I got phases of having crush, except for who plays Sarah?
Oh, Robin Tunney.
I like her better in Empire Records.
Yeah, she's
a little too femme for me. Take that wig off, baby.
See, the wig looks so much like my mom's hair that like she just like looks like young my mom. So I can't.
And you don't want to dip into your toe into Freud land.
Yeah, only in academia. Only in academia, not in my personal life. Yet. So since we're at the Rachel True Appreciation Show, I'm just gonna jump ahead to my quotes from her.
Yay.
So I combined a bunch of quotes from her about her experience of being the only Black character in this movie. Because it's just, I feel like it's more powerful to talk about all of it together. So
Yeah.
this pulls from a couple different things. But, quote, when we did the read through, I had a scene with my upper middle class stodgy parents. We shot it. And this goes to when I was like, there's a lot of class consciousness in this film, but there used to be a lot more. A lot of that was with Rachel's family.
We don't see any of her family.
You don't see any of her family. And the one time we go to her house is when Robin Tunney as Sarah has just escaped from Chris, and she comes running and knocks on the door. And we see that she's got this really giant, beautiful house, and there's like no acknowledgement of it. It's because there used to be this scene dealing with this, and she's the one character who doesn't get a backstory. And Rachel True points that out. She says, we shot it. It ended up being cut from the film, which I was a little bummed about because I was like, wait, all the other girls get parents. I don't get parents?
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, she feels very like hollowed in that.
And this was 20 years ago. So then I said, quote, listen, you're Black and you're in the movie. That's pretty good already. And I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah, it's just fucked.
It's so
appreciation
fucked.
to have, and not like for her,
Yeah.
like that is valid.
Yeah.
But like it's just
but like she
sucks.
shouldn't have to be in that position.
Yeah.
And she also, they kept leaving her out of press junkets for the movie. It took her other cast members, the other three
like, "We're not
girls, calling and
less
being like,
than."
where the fuck is Rachel? There are 4 of us in this
honestly,
movie.
I'm gonna say like it is white people's responsibility
It
to make
is.
sure that happens, especially
Absolutely
co-stars.
it
It's
is.
not. It should never be on the Black co-stars to be like,
no.
I need to be in this. It's like,
Yeah.
no, speak up for your
Yeah.
fucking co-stars.
Yeah.
Or whoever.
But
Not
like,
just in-
it shouldn't be happening to
Damn, I
begin
didn't realize
with.
that.
But yeah, which, as she points out, and again, Rachel True, fucking love this woman. She's like given a lot of very candid interviews being like, I think that means that they didn't think it was going to get a Black audience. So they left me out of the press because they were like,
yeah. I mean, you got to think with it. I'm sure they absolutely thought that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
And the
it's
teen
like-
slasher, it's like, unless the Black person was like the comic relief, like
Yep.
let's be so fucking for real. The
Yep.
comic relief was going to die first. Like,
she
you
has,
know, was this trope of who, like,
yeah.
who I think mainstream media thought Black people were. Like, unless you were those things, you're not sellable.
She has a quote saying that, I didn't even write this one down because there was just so many, but she has a quote saying that like this was one of the first, part of the reason she fought so hard for this part was because it was one of the first times that she was getting to audition for something where the only line she had was an "Are you okay?" And like,
Yeah.
yeah. They also, out of the 4 leads, she's the only one who didn't get invited to the MTV Movie Awards that year. They left her out of the invitation. And it's so awful.
I'm so
She's
glad she's fucking like speaking up on this stuff. 'Cause it's just,
seriously. And she said at the time, I just said, oh, it's probably because Fairuza's known and Nev is on a TV show. And now I'm kind of 50-50 on it. It's also
No.
that they were white.
no,
Like,
it's absolutely because they were white.
It's
Yeah,
that they were
yeah.
white. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, especially because she, to me, is giving the most. I think all the performances in this movie are amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously, Fairuza is the show stealer because she's the villain. It's like, that's the
And she's
meatiest
fucking
character.
bonkers.
And she's fucking bonkers. Rachel is
Yeah.
doing the most with the least in this
Yeah.
movie. Like,
Well, she shines through realizing now that she doesn't
That
have
she's
I don't know
given
why I
the-
just like consciously she's given the
Same,
least, but yeah,
which,
I
like,
fucking love her.
yeah.
Man.
And like hearing
that
her
just
point
shows
this
that, like,
out, it makes me
People
realize
of color have
that,
to work harder
yeah,
to be still.
yeah, to still get the
Yeah.
least acknowledgement,
Yeah.
the least,
So even
yeah,
that
screen
wasn't
time.
perfect.
Yeah. So although it does seem like it wasn't, the problems were not the other creatives working on the movie, it was the people marketing it, you know, is kind of the sense that I get.
Yeah. What's the
but
Hollywood of it all?
It's the Hollywood of it all. So just felt like we needed to take a moment to talk about Rachel True, especially because,
Yeah.
like, again, I just like,
Rochelle's a
I-
baddie.
Rochelle's a baddie. I love this movie so much, but I feel like this is a side of the craft that doesn't get talked about
Yeah.
that much.
No, I love that
and
you brought this.
Like, she's out here giving all these incisive, brilliant
Yeah.
interviews about that, like, fucking,
Just kind of still getting swept a little bit.
yeah, and it's like, things haven't changed that much.
Bring her back to the light.
Yes,
Bring her back.
Rachel True Appreciation Show,
Yeah,
people.
I love that. Yeah, she's the best.
So now,
Yay. I'm glad you did that.
yeah. Now let's move on to something light and fluffy.
Yeah. I know we're getting really fucking dark in here.
I'm so sorry, guys. It's the craft, all
Yeah.
right? We're gonna bring out all of the trauma. All right. Gotta talk about the costumes.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Like,
obviously.
Like,
Have you seen us?
come on. This is
I feel like I dress like the craft on
all the time.
So once it starts to get into spooky season, I can actually wear layers. I'm like, here we go, buckle up, baby.
Yes. So I brought in some quotes from the director and the costume designer.
Costume designer quotes.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Again, we have such a wealth of interview material from this movie.
Is that nice for you? But you get those movies and I don't.
I'm so
What's it like,
sorry.
Siena? Tell us. Actually, you know what? Just read the quotes that you found. Read the quotes that you found. I actually have quotes this time, but
I was just, I'm so nervous for what this means coming up. Costume designer's name is Deborah Everton. She said, I wanted the Robin Tunney character to be the most vulnerable, so the audience had somebody as a protagonist. So I kept her softer and more accessible than the other girls, particularly Nancy, who's much more hard-edged. Her clothes were almost like an armor because she was, underneath all that meanness, kind of just a broken child, which was like, oh. And of course, the costumes get more fashionable as the film progresses.
Yes, they do.
The skirts shrink as the powers grow. And then there was,
one would say.
Exactly. Director said, we put them in these costumes that were kind of gothy, and that was my premise. What if these witchcraft girls in high school dressed like they were in The Cure? He goes on to talk about how nobody was doing that at the time, which, like, yes, they were. Then we go into...
Did he not go out in society?
Literally, I don't know what he's talking about. Because
existed.
Then we go to Rachel True's quote, and she says, I'd come from New York where everybody dressed like that. Everybody dressed in all black.
LA, no. But...
Yeah. Everybody looked like Fairuza's character in the East Village. That was the normal look for me. But the second I got off the plane in California, I was like, how does everybody have on the exact same little flower dress? So I just realized that's the California take on all this. The flower dresses we have in there. And I realized her character in particular, whereas a lot of them are very specific to exactly what was happening in California casual fashion.
Yeah.
So there's like this...
That's why I'm wearing flowers today too,
I
from a girl.
love it.
Yeah, even still, yeah, the fashion from coast to coast is wildly different. I think that's why I didn't fit in there.
I understand. I wouldn't
like, are you
either.
goth? Do you shave your eyebrows? I got that all the time. I was like, nope, there's hair under there.
There's
That's
hair,
fine.
yeah.
And like, I'm not goth. That's fine.
I got that all the time too, and I was like, no, I just want them to look scarier. There's
Yeah.
eyebrow under there.
Yeah.
To
be fair, I like painted those bitches on. They were perfect.
Have you seen mine, Al?
Oh, you should have seen it. I used to use a pencil eraser tip and dip water and eyeshadow, and it would be the perfect round. And then I drew from there.
Okay, we're gonna get real Capital High School here. Have you ever tried a Sharpie?
No. Nope. Nope. Didn't do that.
That's how you know it's real, baby.
Didn't do that.
Couple little practical effects tidbits that I wanted to throw at you. They used 2,700 snakes on this film.
There are a lot of snakes.
There's a lot, and almost
Loki
all of them
today.
are real. I can't believe I haven't met Loki yet.
I gotta-
Y'all, Al has a pet snake named Loki. What
He's
kind
a
of snake is
baby.
he?
He's a ball python.
Oh,
He's a Enchi spider. That's what he is. His
Oh.
mix. He's got green eyes. He's very beautiful.
oh, what
He's
a
got a little
gorgeous
symbol
boy.
on his head that looks like
Looks
Loki's
like
horns.
Loki, yeah. So pretty much the only digital snakes that they use in the movie are the ones on like Fairuza's fingers and
Fingies.
hair.
Yeah.
All of the other snakes, real snakes.
We both had spidery little
We
fingertips
did.
in our
Yeah, I didn't think about
Yeah.
that. There were some like Cronenberg-y elements in yours too,
mhm.
especially I felt like
Yeah.
some existence
A
energy.
little bit.
Apparently Robin was fine with snakes, but she was scared of birds, which is part of why they can't use birds in the climax, even though there's a lot of bird imagery throughout the movie. She was like, I draw the line there.
That's KP at work. Afraid of birds, likes bats. I'm always mystified.
tracks
I also
somehow.
some people are afraid of butterflies, fine with like
That's
bats,
weird.
and I find it weird.
I love bats,
Me
but
too.
I can't imagine being scared of butterflies. Light as a feather stiff of a board scene. They had a green screen with a hydraulic lift
Okay.
underneath.
Yeah.
Nancy covered in bugs. They made a life-size cast of
Okay.
Fairuza's head and torso, wrapped it in green screen material,
Ah.
made the bugs crawl all over that, and then composited that with footage of her actual performance.
Okay, so she didn't actually
So
have to be
they-
covered in bugs.
Both she and Robin did have rats crawling on them, but I
Oh, but
don't
they're
think they had to do.
fuzzy.
Yeah.
Rats are cute.
Apparently, they were very smelly.
Rats?
Yeah.
Oh.
Apparently, they
Do you
had some
bathe
very
them?
smelly rats. I
Oh.
don't know.
Rodents have a tang to them. I feel like a rodent tang.
Oh my god. Let's see. I'll give you two last production facts, and then I'm gonna try and wrap it up.
Four.
I knew this was gonna be a hard one to keep short. But,
Yeah.
so the cover of "How Soon Is Now" that you hear on the soundtrack, goes on to be used
Which
as
one's that?
That's the Smiths
Oh,
one.
yeah.
The like.
I love the Smiths.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the Smiths.
I
do.
500 Days of Summer.
Yeah. It's not
That particular cover goes on to be used as the theme song to Charmed in 1998.
Oh, funny. Never saw Charmed.
And I've never seen it. However, Tunney, True, and Fleming, the director, have all openly called it a ripoff of The Craft, to the degree that Fleming actually alleged that Warner Brothers intentionally stole a lot of the ideas down to using that theme song. And as usual, Rachel True has the best quote on all of this.
Yes.
She says, "Leave it to Aaron Spelling to make them all sisters, so they didn't even have to have an ethnic character." And I was like, "Bitch, you're right though."
Oh my god.
Ugh.
Hey.
Ugh. And I also just quick little
TV in the 90s, yeah, like
fucking TV in the
it was.
90s.
I feel like TV in the 90s, it was a black show,
Mhm.
or it was
a
a
white
show.
show.
Yeah, white.
A
specifically.
white show.
There was no like.
Yeah. And so Rachel True is like, yeah, they just literally took the craft
That's a
and were like,
great
make it
fucking
white.
quote.
Yeah. I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
Rachel True, marry me.
Yeah.
Um,
Truly. What she up to?
Truly. Also, just quick little art history tidbit shout out. In the climax scene, as we're kind of going through Sarah's like nightmare house situation, she walks past a whiteboard in her house that says Gustav Klimt.
What?
Yes, it's very weird.
Did you notice that word? Oh.
It's just a quick second, but it's very large, and people on
Whoa.
IMDb have been writing about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, weird choice. And then I was like,
was there a piece that was supposed to be Gustav Klimt work there? There in the set, just oopsies. We forgot to put
Klimt
that.
goes here.
Yeah. You know what I mean? They were marking the set, and they were like, "Oh shit, we left that one in there."
I love that.
Game of Thrones water bottle. Yeah.
Oh my god. Ugh, Starbucks cup.
Starbucks cup, is that what it was? Yeah.
But so I was thinking about this and I was like, why would you put a Gustav Klimt reference in? And I was like, okay, first of all, a lot of the way that climax scene is shot does kind of feel like it's referencing his work, particularly his gold period work. He's the one who did
I'm not familiar with
The Kiss, the one where it's like a couple embracing, there's gold, like a pattern of
I'll look it up.
we'll look it up during the break.
I'll Google it.
You'll recognize it when you see it.
Okay.
The way that final scene is shot, the color palette and kind of the geometric patterns look
Okay.
a little bit Klimty. But it was like, I feel like there's got to be something else to it. And then I put my art history thinking cap on, and I was like, well, the other thing that Klimt is really... There you go.
I don't think I know that one.
Oh, the other thing that he's really known
Thank you, Lauren.
for is paintings of women, particularly. And
Mm.
particularly, he loved to take an Old Testament woman and depict her as like a hot femme fatale baddie. So he has
okay.
like a hot shirtless Judith with the head of Holofernes. He's
Oh,
got like
sick. Okay.
stuff like that. And I was like, I mean, this is
That makes
such
sense.
it's such a like Old Testament imagery filled movie with all
Yeah.
the snakes and stuff all over
Do you
everything.
think she was doing like research on stuff, and that's what she
Quite
was probably?
Possibly.
What a wild! This just feels random.
It feels random.
Was there other stuff on the whiteboard?
No, just Gustav Klimt.
I don't know if I like that. That feels lazy. Does that not feel lazy? Imagine she had like all these references that she
Yeah.
was looking up of like powerful women, like she
Right.
was doing like research
Yeah.
on stuff, and
That
like,
would feel more
was the
intentional.
biggest.
Yeah.
But that's just like, hey guys.
Gustav
Also,
Klimt.
look at us with our art history knowledge. It feels
So,
lazy.
I'm
but
trying
that's
to
me.
give them credit. You
I
can agree,
won't.
you cannot agree.
I'm not agreeing.
Fair.
Hard not agree.
I'll just say real quick, opened May 3rd, opened #1 at the box office, earned $55.6 million against a budget
Dang.
of 15. So
Dang.
it made its money back.
Nice.
Of course, it's now one of the biggest cult films
Oh
of
my
the
God.
90s, I would say.
Yeah, the residuals on those.
Can only imagine.
Everyone gets it but Rachel, probably.
We laugh because
Ending on
it's true.
Morbid note again.
Totally. Currently only holds a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think
That
is
is-
ridiculous.
Are they men?
Yeah.
Are there men in the chat?
Yeah. I brought in an Ebert quote, which I thought was hilarious. Do we have time for the Ebert quote?
Yeah.
Okay. It's short. Ish.
You're like, all 50 things to say about it, but I couldn't find an Ebert quote.
I'm completely cutting film theory rant corner this episode because there's just not even time. So we'll end with the Ebert quote and with me being sassy about it. So he gave it 2 out of 4 stars. He said, "Here are 4 girls who could outgross David Copperfield in Vegas, and they limit their amazing powers to getting even. The plot, in short, is beneath our interest. What is intriguing is that the 4 actresses succeed in playing their characters as realistic modern teenagers, the underside of the coin from Clueless. All 4 are convincing performers. Balk relishes her character's loathsome behavior, and Rachel True has the sunniest smile since Doris Day." Weird. The movie's failure...
Yeah, that's like, oh, hey girl, you're pretty.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, it feels that's creepy.
Yeah,
it
so
gives
we're
creepy
talking
uncle
about
vibes.
Fairuza's performance, and we're talking about Rachel True's smile.
Doris Day smile.
Okay, great. The movie's failure is one of imagination. It tilts too far in the direction of horror and special effects, when it might have been more fun to make a satirical comedy about punk teenagers. And
no, that's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, I was like, you missed
That's a
the
different movie, bro.
point, dude. And I was like, I think it's hilarious to complain that the witches in this movie are using their powers for revenge. Like, obviously, Ebert, you've never been a teenage girl.
I was just about to say that. Okay, so I want to get that. We'll get into that with the faculty of like the themes, because I think the themes are very like on point. But I'm like, if you were use your powers for good, what the fuck would you do when you're going through high school as a teenager who's been bullied and you feel like an outcast, and finally you find like your people? But then there's like this with female friendships are so different than men. They're so, I think, just outwardly intricate. I don't think men's relationships aren't, but I think women are way more. We talk about it more. I think we outwardly express it. Yeah. And so it's like that absolutely would happen. Yeah. As someone who had an awful falling out with all my girlfriends in high school and in college that have left me traumatized.
100%. Still have nightmares about it.
Yeah. Like it happens. And like those instances for me, like if that was my coven and that I basically had anxiety, didn't show up for a school project, and all of my girlfriends decided to not talk to me anymore. Cut me out of photos in our senior yearbook. There were group photos, and I was just chopped out of it.
Oh no!
It's like a scene from a movie.
It's like the scene from The Craft.
There was a whole page of all the group, and then just there would be middle cutouts, and they'd copy and paste them together, which was very obvious. But like, if we were a coven, and that would that happened to me, and I'm like, dude, there's like
we weren't even doing magic, man. Imagine
so
if we were.
If we were, I would have gotten fucking revenge on those bitches. I was so hurt.
Yeah,
I would just cry in school all day, and it's like there is so much rage that comes with.
Still maintain to this day, there is not a breakup in my life that I've been through that has hurt me as much as friend breakups.
Oh,
hands down.
And I think too, like I've learned in like the last like 4 years, like I am an autistic person, and I see where, you know, friendship like it's so hindsight 2020 of like, I don't know if you had the same or like how long you've been on this, but like, you know, learning who you are now. I'm in my 30s, and it's just like, you know, looking back and being like, God, I wish I could have hugged teenager
I want to go back and protect that.
Yeah, so it's just like he's just coming. He's wrong, and he's coming from a point of view that's just you've never been a teenage girl.
Yeah, well, it's like I'll give you my one-line film theory rant corner, which is that if that's your interpretation of the movie, what you're missing is that it's not flipping into horror; it's flipping into melodrama / weepy at the end. It does a Mildred Pierce at the end of this movie. It does a like Douglas Sirk melodrama.
No idea what those words mean, but yes. Those of you who get Siena will know those words.
2 thumbs up.
Classic horror over there.
Modern gore.
Yeah. But I get what you're referencing.
The general vibe.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I don't think that it's trying to be a straight horror movie at the end. I think it's...
Both of these really play with this like genre bending
100%.
aspect. And I also think both of these, which we'll get into, is both the creators came from a very grounded point of view, I think, too. And so I think people want to conform these, especially in the time of this 96, 98, the beginning of these teen slashers. We have Scream, which is very meta. I know you did last summer. We have all these movies coming out with these different tones. And I think these ones just were so grounded. that people really wanted to place them in a different box at the time. Is my opinion on that.
I agree.
So, yeah, but
Yeah.
the fucking craft, man. 10 out of
It's
10. 10, 10, 10.
It's a
across the board.
masterpiece. It's complicated. It's real.
It
It's
still holds up.
painful. It holds up. It's
Yeah.
so well researched. Fairuza Balk's a witch.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a witch.
Yeah.
Before we skip into mine, I just have to nod. I'm gonna play it for you, and I'll hold it as close to the, or we can just put like a thing over it. Fairuza Balk has this one moment that is one of the cringiest cinematic moments I've ever seen.
Oh my
ever.
God, I'm so excited.
It's after they do the beach scene.
well, because as you know, I am a Nancy through and through.
I love
so-
Nancy. But so she's running up to the whale, and then she lets out this sound that's like, ah, and she's like, I'm your daughter now. And it is one of the worst. I'm like, why didn't you cut that? Were there not more takes?
I know exactly.
I'm gonna
what
play
you're
it.
talking
I'm gonna
about.
play it for people to listen to. You all know what I'm talking about. Ah!
I'm your daughter
Ah, you're done now. It's giving, if you were on TikTok like a few years ago, it's giving he fucking no. Do you remember her?
I was thinking it's reminding me of, you know, the new sound that's going around. It's like, it's a strawberry. Oh, strawberry.
Yeah, I love that one. It's giving lots of really cringy things. And I just had to give that a moment. I watched that. I almost skip over that entire scene because I know that is coming. I almost just stop the movie there and go, I'm going to save this piece for myself.
It's her shark gift. I'm your daughter now.
I'm your daughter now. Anyways,
On that
should we
note.
take a break?
We'll be right back.
Know how much you love stories of horror and gore. Meet our sponsor, Beasley Books, the independent bookstore owned by author George R.R. Martin in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Beasley specializes in autographed titles, rare editions, and speculative fiction, which includes sci-fi, fantasy, and of course, horror. You can find many authors whose adaptations we've covered at Beasley, including Stephen King, Clive Barker, and more, alongside the likes of Nick Cutter, Shirley Jackson, and Anne Rice. Visit the Santa Fe storefront Wednesday through Sunday at 418 Montezuma, or shop online anytime. I don't know why I'm Irish now, but you can find them at BeasleyBooks.com or on Instagram at BeasleyBooks418. And make sure you use code SPLICE10 to save 10% when you shop online. SPLICE10 to save 10% when you shop online. Bye.
And we're back.
I was saying to Sienna, I hate going second.
I was saying I love going second, so
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It was okay. I just like my nervous energy. I need to like get it out.
Get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I need to stay awake and not fall into doll trance.
Yeah, no
which
doll
now
eyes.
we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out.
I guess I don't know where like I want to start. It's always I like never know where to start when I'm going
my-
second.
oh.
So
We had been having a conversation about this that you stopped me during the break. So let's start off there. I knew nothing about this movie going into it.
yeah.
I didn't know that this was a Robert Rodriguez film until the last credits came up.
Oh, you didn't?
Had no idea. It was like it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a yeah.
which is funny for a movie like that. I don't know. He kind of does a bunch of random stuff,
He-
which we'll talk about. But
Yeah, he is. I always forget that he did Spy Kids.
I was gonna
He's-
say I have like Spy Kids in there, which
Yeah.
we will talk about Spy Kids for half a second. Half a
he
beat.
is like the
A man
death
of-
of auteur theory, and I love it. Like he
bounces, man.
so weird.
He is, yeah.
Just
I don't
seems
know.
like he's having fun.
I was gonna say I haven't watched like a lot of interviews with him. I'm familiar with his works. I'm not really familiar with like him.
I read his book Rebel Without a Crew. which I
Oh,
really
yeah.
liked,
Did you like it?
It's good.
Yeah.
If you ever want to borrow it.
Yeah, I might be interested to see like some because I have a lot of quotes actually from him. He's kind of like my through line throughout this whole
Oh.
thing. But yeah, not like familiar with his works, not really familiar with him. I found his interviews really interesting. He's a lot different than I thought he was, like in a good way. I felt like he's still like that like masculine Hollywood.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like he works with Quentin, you know, like he
Yeah.
gives that energy.
For sure.
But then he also like has this softness to him that I appreciate.
I
as
have
well.
such a soft spot for him just as like a southwestern kid who just went out there and fucking did it for no money. Like that. I'll always love him
For
for
that,
that.
yeah.
Because El Mariachi was like what, $15,000?
Yeah. He had a lot of like passion. I think that's too. He has like a lot of drive
Mhm.
in him, and he does seem pretty humble. So yeah.
Yeah. And he's also my favorite author, Roberto Bolaño. The book 2666, my
Oh.
favorite book, has a weird little Robert Rodriguez cameo in it. So,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Just a fun little Siena tidbit for the half
Yeah.
a person out there who's going to care about that. But yeah.
No, there's many people. Did you kind of know about the faculty outside of
knew-
this too?
I literally didn't even know this was an alien invasion movie until we were talking about alien movies for Warren's birthday, and I was looking up alien invasion movies, and
And
the
faculty.
faculty came up, and I was like,
Oh.
"Ah,
So you really,
damn
like,
it!"
Did you?
I knew nothing.
You just jumped in and
I just
watched?
jumped in, which was really fun because I almost never get to do that. So,
Yeah. This was my third time watching it. I was
Oh.
introduced to it in college. I think me and Trav did a rewatch like many years ago at this
Mhm.
point, and then so I feel like I kind of I feel like I like re-spoiled some things 'cause I didn't know it's looked at
I
spoilers,
love-
and I feel like I've forgotten a lot of the
Mhm.
things. So it was fun to rewatch
That's
just for that
cool. Yeah.
reason. Yeah,
That's satisfying that you didn't remember.
I didn't remember a
everything
lot of
going
this
back
one.
to it. Yeah,
I know. I feel like it's one of those films I'm always like, oh, I need to rewatch this. So I'm really, really happy that.
Mhm. And is
that
this
I did.
one? I feel like I remember you telling me that this is one you find like really genuinely scary. Is that correct?
Not this one.
Not this
This
one?
Dark Skies.
That's what it was. Okay.
Which we will be doing.
Yes,
We don't want to
yes.
tease too early, but we are doing that at some
It
point.
will
so we will
happen.
announce that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hard to scare me. But this one's I'll just get in. So 1998, it's listed as like a horror mystery sci-fi film. Obviously,
Mhm.
sci-fi is very apparent in this. It premiered in November of 1998, but then every kind of marketing thing says Christmas. So I think it really released on Christmas worldwide.
Mhm.
The description is when Casey Connor, Harrington High School's newspaper photographer, witnesses the murder of a nurse and sees her alive again. He decides to investigate the bizarre happenings. I also have a way better description later on from someone who left a review, and it
Oh, I
perfectly
can't wait.
encapsulates this film. I just wanted to leave that. I bolded it, so I hopefully
Love.
getting through these notes faster, I'll be able to get to that. So it was rated R. Obviously, there's a lot of violence, gore.
Earned it much more than The Craft. For
Yeah,
sure.
there's a lot that happens in this one.
Yeah.
There's nudity, drug use, all of the things, all of the 90s. They could get away with so much more, I felt like.
Yes. Honestly, though, true.
So we have taglines. I have multiple. I had to narrow it down. So we'll just jump into some. You can let me know which ones you love, which ones you
Yes.
hate, because
yeah.
some of them are awful. We have Take Me to Your Teacher. Stupid. I love it.
Oh my god.
I feel like that's something like as a kid I would have on my lunchbox.
Yeah, I was
It
gonna
also
say, that
sounds like a Goosebumps book title.
That sounds like something I would write.
Meet the Alien Generation. Boomer energy. Love that.
Terrible. Hate that.
On December 25th, School's Out Forever. Love that one.
I'm into that one.
Yeah.
It's
Thumbs up and
cheeky.
Think your teachers are aliens? You could be right.
Too many
Boo.
words.
Boring. Boring.
Yeah.
And this one's my favorite. And you thought your teachers were weird. Warren, 2 thumbs up from Warren. And you thought your teachers were weird. Weird or like alien murderers. I don't know. I feel like they're a little different.
Column B.
Like, are you weird or you are like a murderer?
Tomato, tomato. I mean,
So that's my favorite. Saved it for last. There's so many more.
oh my god.
I'm jumping into, obviously we know Robert Rodriguez
Mhm.
directed and edited this, but you know who fucking wrote it? My boy, Kevin Williamson.
That
So
makes so much sense.
I've done so many movies
Oh
by
my
this man. I
God.
love him. I feel like I don't even need to say at this point. If
Yep.
you've listened to older
Yep.
episodes, you know all about him. I don't know why all the times I've been on fucking IMDb with this man's
Oh my
name
God.
and I missed that he did The Faculty.
That's so
boggles my mind.
funny.
Goes to show you I'm only reading
God.
for certain I'm only looking for certain things.
So for anybody who's like, if this is your first episode, or he also did Scream, he did I Know What You Did Last Summer. What else?
I did like all the screams.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
did a bunch
he
of
did
shit.
all the
You
things.
look it up.
Yeah. You Google it.
Google it.
You goggle
Again,
it.
I've looked at IMDb and missed this every single time.
So fun. And I know this is like a film that Al in particular quite enjoys. So it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I love this movie.
Surprises me that didn't jump out.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Looking at it now, like
Mhm.
story and the theme and everything, it makes so much sense. So,
Mhm.
obviously Robert Rodriguez directed it. He's known for like Grindhouse, Sin City, From Dusk Till Dawn, and the Spy Kids movies.
Were you a
of
Spy
them.
Kids kid?
Not really, actually. I
love
don't know why.
Kids.
Those ones,
Loved.
I know. Those ones really went past me in a way
Oh.
that I regret.
I wonder if it was a timing thing or maybe just a Southwest Kids thing.
I don't
Spy Kids
know.
like were everything when I was growing up. It was
I know. A
it's
lot
like
of
a
people have like an
religion.
affinity for it.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll get there one day because I love
yeah.
like
That's
older.
so good.
I always thought it was like a Disney Channel movie. It's not. It's very like Disney adjacent
Oh.
in feel. So,
Mm-hmm.
so Robert wasn't the first director up for the gig. It was Kevin Williamson was supposed to.
Has
so
he ever directed? Do we know?
At this point, no, he did not.
Ah.
He was going to direct this, so he was
is
writer
gonna be
director
his
for this
debut?
film. It was going to be his
Interesting.
debut, but he went off to make his directorial debut with another film called I hate the name.
Oh no.
Teaching Mrs. Tingle.
That's
Like no wonder it didn't
disgusting.
go out. You know what I mean? Does anyone even know about that movie?
I'm sorry, Kevin Williamson, you're too smart to allow
He
your
must
movie
have-
to be called
I felt like he
that.
probably wrote something that felt so close to his
Ugh.
heart that he was like, I want to do this instead.
Ugh.
I don't know.
Kevin.
Bad choice.
Poor
The
choices
only
were made.
poor choice he's made.
Yeah.
So the producers then brought on Robert Rodriguez. He said that even though he didn't have that Kevin didn't have time with him on set while he was directing The Faculty because he was directing the awful movie called Mrs. Tingle or whatever.
Great.
Tingle, not Tinkle. Just I don't know that makes a difference.
That's the X-rated version.
Oh no. I was skipping over that. They worked together for 2 months to prepare before The Faculty. So they worked together on and Robert goes on to kind of praise Kevin in interviews that I saw. There is like a behind the scenes on YouTube. It's 40 minutes long. The first 20 minutes are literally just behind the scenes with no talking heads.
Oh my
The second
God.
half is talking
Amazing.
heads. I was like, the fuck did I
Amazing.
just click on? He said he wanted to work with him since he read the script for Scary Movie, aka what came to be Scream. And he
Yeah.
says that how he writes real characters, writes from experience and the heart, and how Kevin kind of deals with really universal themes. Again, like we talked in Craft, that he was like, I absolutely want to work with this guy in any capacity.
Mhm.
So, but Robert stepped in. So, we have special effects. I also don't know how this one went past me. Greg Nicotero was the one that did
Oh
the
my
special effects. It makes
God,
so
look
much
at
sense.
that.
I tried
It's all
so
our
hard.
faves.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
it.
The gang's back
The
together.
gang's back together.
I noticed too with Robert Rodriguez, and I have a bit at the end if we can get to it. He just works with everybody on multiple projects, and he seems like very much like keeping.
It's that
people-
indie spirit, man.
Oh my god, he's
Yeah.
got it in him.
Mhm.
He's got the bug. But the tadpole bug, the alien bug. But he worked with Greg Nicotero on Sin City, From Dusk Till Dawn, and all the Spy Kids, or some of the Spy Kids movies, I think.
Uh-huh.
And I was really bummed. I tried so hard in the time frame that we have to do research on these. I tried so hard to find any sort of special effects knowledge. I did find a photo of him on set underwater from like 2020. He like
my God, I love
reposted a
that.
picture. I did find a cool concept piece from Bernie Wrightson, who did like concept art,
Oh,
or someone who did
cool.
concept art on it.
Interesting.
It's just like 1 to 2 images like circulating, and that's it.
Wow, that
I'll
surprises
post
me.
it. I feel like we'll post it on
Yeah.
Splice. It looks very much like a graboid from Tremors.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. Which it looks less like that on the screen, but also does look like that on the screen.
the-
But on paper, oh boy, it looks the same.
Again, very existence vibes in some of the
I love that they
critters.
did
Yeah.
practical though. There at the end with that big thing. I just wanted to kiss on the
Yeah,
nose. Just
it's
boop it.
cute.
I know
It's
it's
a
kind of
little
cute.
guy. Yeah.
We have music by Marco Beltrami, who I'm sorry if
Why
I
does that sound familiar?
He did Scream. He did Mimic. He also
Ah.
did The Omen, Deep Water, Red Eye,
Oh.
2011's The Thing, and like so many more
Damn.
horror. So he's kind of like a horror composer,
Oh, that's super
horror
cool.
movie
I love
composer.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then I found out that the official score from him for
Mhm.
the faculty was just released for the first time last year in 2023.
Oh,
It had never
whoa.
been released before, but it kind of revealed that several tracks from the film had been, I'm going to do air quotes, hastily retooled to be used in Halloween H2O when Marco was hired
Oh,
to finish the
fascinating.
music after John Ottman was fired from that, which I didn't realize he was fired because I think I've covered him. I think he did
This is sounding familiar.
what was the one not the Skeleton Key,
Oh,
not the others.
Oh, although I love Skeleton Key.
Tomas. I think he did that one.
The Orphanage.
I think he did the Orphanage.
Oh, that makes sense.
I'm pretty sure he did the Orphanage.
Interesting.
So I thought that was kind of cool that they
Oh, I love
he just recycled some stuff and no one really realized that until
Obsessed.
as of last year.
I think you're right. I feel like I remember. Yeah, I believe it
That
was
one
the
flew right
Orphanage
past
that we
me, but
talked about. Yeah.
timely kind of.
There you go. Love.
We'll get into casting because I feel like I have a lot of stuff here. So, Robert Rodriguez said in an interview that it actually took much longer to cast the film than it actually did to shoot it. And it took months for them to find
Interesting.
all the people that they needed for
That's
this.
so funny.
Yeah, it was due to things like like I was saying earlier, once they would cast one person, it would make them realize that they needed to cast another role. Since it was kind of like a ensemble cast, everyone had to work really well together as a whole
Makes
and
sense.
individually. So I love that they spent some time really making sure that they got the right people for everything. And I do think they cast it really well, unlike Freddie Prinze Jr. I know he did that somewhere. He also said, which I appreciate, he said he was really overwhelmed by how many speaking roles there were and wasn't sure as a director if he would be able to even juggle all these characters.
It's a lot of characters.
Love a humble king. There's
Yeah.
so fucking many. I'm convinced that's why they have the title cards at the beginning.
I was gonna say it's such a wonderfully it feels like it's like an episode of Saved by the Bell or something.
So
like
I wrote in this, I noted like it feels like an adult Goosebumps episode.
yes, it does.
Like an R-rated Goosebumps episode. As someone who's rewatching Goosebumps right now.
Now that you say that, I feel like that's the Robert Rodriguez vibe. Like
Goosebumps?
yes, or like either adult Goosebumps or just regular Goosebumps when it's
Oh my
Spy Kids. Like
God.
he's just got that kind of like
That energy.
goofy energy.
I have to dive deeper
Yeah.
into to him
Yeah.
because I didn't know. I was curious your thoughts on
Machete
him.
too. That's him,
Yeah,
right?
Machete.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have Elijah Wood as Casey.
Again, how short is this man?
There is a scene when he's like walking down away from somebody. I think maybe to the car or something like that. And I was like, I have to look up this man's age.
Yeah, he looks.
He was 17, and he's a tiny boy.
He
He's
looks
Mr. Frodo.
like pixie-like.
he is a pixie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love him.
It's adorable.
I love him so much.
I feel like I could like hold him in the palm of my hand.
Oh
Like,
yeah. I think you can. He
Yeah.
is like actual Hobbit size. They actually didn't have to do anything different for him.
No forced perspective.
No, which we'll get into Lord of the Rings a little bit later. Oh wait, no, we'll get into
Now? Mm.
No, we won't get into it now. I have it saved for later. Sorry for the wind up. I have some quotes for a couple of these casts that Robert Rodriguez said in interviews. So he said, well, casting Elijah Wood, he said, quote, honestly, it was little by little. First off, I knew I wanted Elijah Wood. I didn't even want to do the movie unless we got Elijah.
Mhm.
I actually flew to meet him on another set to convince him to do the movie.
Whoa.
I knew the lead in the movie needed to be really good, and Elijah was fantastic. So I knew it. Again, I knew I needed him. He just kept saying that. And I love that he went out and
I
he's like,
love
by all
that.
means, I'm
Ugh.
getting this child.
Oh my god. Also, I have to say, Warren was just looking up his height. 5'6".
Yeah, he's a baby.
5'6".
4'6"? 4'6"? I know. Don't you just want to and he just looks so baby in this. But
I
again,
know.
Warren was reminding us too of all the things that he did prior. I have not revisited his career prior to Lord of the Rings in a hot ass minute. And he's just always been,
Yeah.
he's one of those kid
He's that boy.
actors that's just, there was an old soul in him. Like
Oh,
Haley
yeah.
Joel Osment too. It's just like there was just
Mhm.
somebody old in them from the beginning. You know what I mean? But he has a very youthful energy.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever had like the old soul, but he seems very professional.
Mm-hmm.
Even like the way he was talking, he's like, I knew I always wanted to work with him, and I love the direction they were. And I was like, you were 17. I
that's
can't
so
even imagine
cute.
talking like that at 17. So next we have Josh Hartnett as Zeke. who I thought was, this is very timely that he's in the upcoming M. Night Shyamalan film Trap, which we just got a text from Devin, who listens to the podcast.
So
Shout out
we did.
Devin.
Thanks,
that said
Devin.
it was actually a really
Quite good.
Yeah.
we've
And Josh
gotta go
Hartnett was
see it.
great.
I'm pretty
love
sure
him.
he said it actually fucks, which I loved because I was like,
Gotcha.
Al's rubbing off on you.
I'm rubbing off on all of you with that. He also, I don't know if you watched Black Mirror, but he was in one of my favorite Black Mirror episodes of all time
Oh.
called Beyond the Sea with Aaron Paul as a co-star in it.
I've only seen
And
the
it's
San
this space
Junipero
themed.
episode. 'Cause
Oh,
I'm gay.
That is my
Like-
number one
I mean,
episode.
That's,
I weep
yeah.
every time, and
yeah.
that is one of the best. That is the best
Heaven is a
episode, I
Place
should
on
say.
Earth,
This is
baby.
one
Yeah.
of, and this is a newer one
Heard.
too.
Ooh. Okay, we'll have to
so-
check it out.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's spacey, so it feels very like on brand for this film.
And Aaron Paul, love. Amazing.
Yeah, beautifully acted, beautifully shot. So when it came to casting Josh Hartnett, Robert Rodriguez said about Josh, for Josh Hartnett, he came into audition and was dropping his papers. He had his pages mixed up. He didn't really read the scene right. And
So-
then he just walked out, and I was like, that's the guy.
That's him.
The studio called me. I was like, you're hiring that guy? And I told him, and he goes on to say, and I told him I had been watching for weeks people come in and try to act like the cool guy, but Hartnett was just the first guy to come in who was actually the cool guy. The guy that's just so freaking cool that I just
it just
needed
doesn't
to
matter.
get him on camera.
Oh my god, I love that.
I know. He gives such himbo.
Oh my god, absolutely.
Like-
Well, and it's so funny. I had not realized that, like, right before I turned this movie on, I'd been scrolling on my phone and I'd seen a meme that I did not realize was from this movie.
Oh.
That was like a still of Josh Hart, obviously because he's in Trap, and so
Yeah.
everybody's talking about Josh Hartnett right now.
Resurgence.
And somebody was like, "I've been with him since he had the worst haircut ever committed to cinema."
we're getting to
history.
it. We
Yeah.
got it. We got the
And
haircut.
I saw that photo and I was like, "Who allowed this to happen?" And then I turned on the TV to watch The Faculty, and I was like,
It's in
"Who
this
allowed
one."
this to happen?"
Fun fact. Nobody.
Josh Hartnett.
So, in an
Robert
interview,
Rodriguez himself went in there with a pair of scissors.
Nope. You'll guess who did. So, in an interview for Halloween H2O, which he was in, he acknowledged his controversial hairstyle, aka the worst hairstyle of all time, seen both in H2O and The Faculty. Apparently, both productions absolutely hated his haircut. That he said he intentionally kept that way because he thought it was like more authentic, like a teen. So he himself just kept lobbing off his hair. It's so bad. It's so bad. And I have a bigger TV now. And I was like, he was bigger than life size.
Oh
So
my
he just kept
God.
cutting it. And they kept like threatening to fire him over it. Obviously it didn't happen. But my guy was just like, this is me. I am him. You will let me. And he just...
A true himbo can wear any hairstyle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's not wrong.
Also, I was like, what? I'm sorry, what teenager? I mean, I guess someone who's making drugs maybe doesn't give a flying fuck when anyone else... like that kid in school doesn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that
That's
kid
true.
doesn't care to be cool.
That's true.
That's not his...
Yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck. So,
Yeah.
I could see that him just being, oh, my hair's too long.
Yeah.
Like, in the middle of making drugs.
He's repeating his senior year. Yeah.
Excuse me.
I guess I could see it.
So, yeah. So, it was him, and no one wanted it. Nobody. I want it now.
I mean, just put a wig on the man. What are we talking?
We're good. I like how you're right. I like how they just left it. Yeah.
Like there are things you can do,
Yeah.
Hollywood.
No,
Like
they were just gonna yell at him and fire him, and then he got away with it. So, moving on, we have Clea DuVall as Stokely or Stokes.
was this before or after? But I'm a cheerleader.
I think this is after. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure this is after. I don't know.
I mean,
My timeline of like this era of '90s is so all over the place. She was also in Girl Interrupted, which is like one of my favorite
yeah.
movies.
and like she's always the token gay, which we love.
Yeah. I actually I love it because Clea DuVall is a lesbian actress playing a heterosexual girl pretending to be a lesbian to scare people off. The layers, the lesbian sandwich, if
We've
you
all
will.
been there, right?
We have.
Yes.
She says she also
the
loves
lesbian sandwich.
lesbian sandwich. Been in one of those. Just kidding. Sorry.
Are
That
we
was-
though?
I don't know. It's hot in here. For other reasons.
For so many reasons.
So she said, I love this. She said she liked the character a lot because it was a lot like her when she was 14 or 15.
Oh.
Dark, brooding, and discontent.
And gay.
And gay. The dry delivery of that. And gay.
Gay.
Robert Rodriguez, I also have a quote from him about her. For Stokely, Clea DuVall came in wearing sunglasses. Like me. Oh my God,
Aw.
samesies. She does a whole scene wearing sunglasses, barely even looking up. She walks out and I go, that's Stokely. And they were like, that girl? Again, this seems to be a theme that he was like, I know who I need. You can't even see her face, is what they said. And I was like, I know.
Yeah.
That's the character.
That's Stokely.
And he said later on, he told her about the audition and she was like, oh shit, I was so nervous. I must have forgotten to take my sunglasses
That's
off.
so cute.
And he thought it was a very good character choice. But she didn't even intend that on purpose.
But that's like what Stokely would do. Is
Yeah.
like keep them on because she's terrified.
Yeah, because she really puts on this front to
Yeah.
then hide behind these things.
Aww.
Also why I came in wearing
Yeah.
sunglasses. We have Usher as Gabe. We're not gonna go. He's also in She's All That. This was his first film debut. We're gonna
Oh my
skim
God.
past him. We have Laura Harris as Mary Beth. Love that she always says her full name. Don't have a lot on her. We have Sean Hatosi as Stan. He was in Factory Girl and a bunch of like NCIS kind of shows
interesting.
and
Cool.
stuff. Love Factory Girl. We have Jordan Brewster, who is Delilah. This was also her debut film.
Oh, interesting.
And she's in Fast and the Furious movies, and I forgot. She's the one that marries
Oh my
Paul
God.
Walker.
Oh
And
my
if,
God.
if anyone's talked to me as of late or came out to the pop-up, you'll know that I started I actually posted me dancing to a Fast and Furious song. Siena was like in full mid-conversation, and I'm just like, this song's in Fast and Furious, and started dancing. So
like leapt up from the table.
Jessica Alba auditioned for the role of Delilah, didn't get it.
It seemed like a Jessica Alba.
It feels
type of
very. I
role.
feel like I could see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. This actress kind of goes under the radar.
She's kind of forgettable.
kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
I also feel like
It's not.
there's another actress that's married to. This is an awful thing for me to say. Married to Shaun White. I can't remember her. She was in Entourage too.
Oh.
I feel like she could have played this role
Oh,
really well
cool.
too. Gave the same vibe. But yeah, Jessica Alba was up. Also, the role of Delilah was originally written for Charisma Carpenter, who plays Cordelia in Buffy.
Oh.
I love that it was written for her.
Interesting.
I'm doing a rewatch of it now, and Cordelia,
Cool.
I think, is a grossly underrated character in Buffy. I love her and her journey and how, like, I don't know. I think she's so underrated. I feel like no one talks about her.
I haven't
the way they
seen
should.
it to know who she is.
She's like, she kind of plays like the pretty bitchy popular girl,
Love
but then
it.
she falls
Cool.
like into the Scooby Gang with
Cool.
all of them.
Cool.
She's kind of a baddie, to be fair, but I don't know. She's a really good comic relief on the show. So it was written for her originally, which I think
Mhm.
is really interesting. But she turned it down because she felt like it was actually too similar to her character
Oh,
Cordelia on Buffy.
Interesting.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar was also offered the role, I should say, and turned it down as well.
The Buffy
So-
bitches. I love
Oh my
it.
God, stop it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they're
so
like, we're
cute.
good.
Yeah.
Again, I think also she did. I know what you did. I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
was-
there was so
which
many
the
things
same
going on for
year.
her.
Yeah, I can imagine
Yeah.
that would be. It would feel a little too samey.
Yeah. So getting into the adults of the movie, the faculty, we have Jon Stewart, who is Professor Edward Furlong, which is intentional, although there is debate, but it's got to be intentional.
Oh, it's obviously intentional.
Because the actor who plays Coach Willis played famously the T-1000 in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and obviously Edward Furlong was also in that. They also think that's why Casey's last name of Connor perhaps is a reference to Sarah and John Connor.
God damn it!
Isn't that
That's
stupid?
So funny.
Also, like, bold just to not name it Edward Furlong's character's name, but just
Right.
call him Edward
Edward
Furlong.
Furlong, just straight up.
Whomst I love.
Professor Edward Furlong.
Yeah.
The second I had to pause the movie and be like, "Is that young Jon Stewart?" Like,
Isn't it wild? Yeah, he was doing like MTV stuff at the time.
that is
So there was like an interview with him too, talking about coming on set. He was like, yeah, I'm like hip with the kids. You know, I'm on MTV. I'm doing this. He's like, then I got to set and I feel so fucking old. He's probably like 30.
yeah,
He's probably my
so
age.
young.
And I'm like, the youths.
Yeah, he looks like a baby in
Yeah.
this.
So yeah, he was doing like MTV stuff. I'm
Ugh.
sure just trying to like get into the
That's
industry.
So funny.
One of my old teachers in one of my sci-fi classes played a short film for when he made film, and Stephen Colbert, he had acting in his sci-fi horror films
That's
and
so
stuff too. So
cool.
I love seeing these like old
Yeah,
like,
old
talk
comedic.
show. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, wild.
I-
So fun.
I've never found him hotter than in this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Him
he
and that
get it.
pile of milky froth,
Okay.
whatever that is. Get it.
And the flogging got you. Okay. Moving along, we have Christopher McDonald as Frank Connor, Mr. Frank Connor. He's an SLC punk. I'm skipping over it. And Grease 2, which I just talked about.
Aha!
He plays one of the
Comes back
T-Birds.
around.
Everyone needs to watch Grease 2. I'm sorry. Better music, hotter cast, more modern take on
Like the gender roles.
Gender roles are like completely flipped in this. Also, like not changing who you are.
Mm-hmm.
The messaging is so much better. I'm sorry.
It-
And no one looks. Well, they look. It's. If I were to pitch Grease 2, it is making fun of Grease 1. The end. With a hotter cast. Please watch
sold off of that.
The Fifes. The Pfeiffer. She's peak hot in that. Anyways.
Love.
Christopher McDonald. I love him. He's also in Leave It to Beaver, like the the remake movie. I love him. He like plays dad so well.
Oh my god.
Me and Trev have this term called goosebumps dads. And like we call like normal people that like, oh, he's giving goosebumps dad.
That's so funny.
And it's because it's like this like clueless energy that like every goosebumps parent, like the parents were like, what are you talking about? That mold that's moving and talking to you, that's fine. Like
again though,
Goosebumps
Robert
dad.
Rodriguez, goosebumps energy.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. Like
he's the goosebumps guy.
I love it.
Ugh.
Speaking of hot, we have Selma Hayek as Nurse Harper.
Another one where I had to pause and be like, is that Salma Hayek?
This
what a cast! It's insane.
Is mind-blowingly sad. There's also some like tiny little cameos. One of them by someone I don't want to talk about because he's a pedophile.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then there's also a background actor that's also in the movie Slackers with oh my god, Devon Sawa. And I love him. God. I love that movie. And so he popped up and was like, oh my god, no way. So there's so many people. Yeah. No wonder Robert Rodriguez was like, I don't know if I could do this. I could barely pay attention. I don't know anybody's name.
Yeah, understandable, man.
So we got a few more people to get through. So we have Piper Laurie as Mrs. Karen Olsen, who plays the iconic Margaret White in Carrie. The antagonist in that, and then she also was in Twin Peaks.
Oh, I forgot.
Which is a role that earned her a Golden Globe.
Oh,
she's
well
since
deserved.
Passed. So R.I.P. She's such an icon. Robert Rodriguez talked about working with her as well, and said, "Oh my God, Piper Laurie, she scared the shit out of me."
Oh my God, I love
highest
him.
of compliments. I hope people say that about me. He said, we were filming the scene where she cuts up BB Newirth with scissors. I hope is it BB?
I think so.
BB Newirth with scissors, and Laurie seemed like such a soft-spoken woman. So I tried showing her what I wanted and telling her to slash downward toward the camera. And then she takes the scissors from me and starts doing the motion you see in the movie with a blank stare. It was so creepy. And then I was like, wait, she was in Carrie, so of course she knows what she's doing. And he said, the look she gave was just so macabre. Yeah, so highest of compliments to her. R.I.P. I love that he was like, let me show you how to stab somebody really quick. Wait a second. You were in like the iconic Carrie movie.
Hold on a second. Yeah. You should be teaching me how to
stab
actually,
somebody. Give me the scissors back. You show me how to do this.
Let me practice that again.
Yeah. We have Famke Janssen as Elizabeth Burke. She
is that the teacher who's hitting on Josh Hartnett?
Yes.
Okay. Which also weird, creepy May December vibes. Like don't like that whole dynamic.
She was very also I like when he's trying to give her drugs or the laxative, and right at the end he goes, "We have it in cherry flavor," and then she just walks away. She goes, "That's mean." Or something.
But she's like, that was so mean.
That was so mean. And I'm like, okay, you kind of deserve to be bullied as a teacher. I mean, don't bully people, guys. But like, she kind of deserved to be.
You are trying to buy drugs from your students, dude. Like.
Love her. So she was originally supposed to be played by Cheryl Fenn. Who is my favorite little psycho, if you don't know, in Twin Peaks, Audrey. One of my loves of my absolute life. Not sure what happened there, but...
Audrey is Brat first of all.
She is. Her little plaid skirts. There was a time where I dressed fully like her.
Mm-hmm.
It happens with me. If I'm watching something, obsessed with something,
Yep.
I just start dressing that way.
The
You've probably
turtlenecks
noticed.
in Twin Peaks, man.
Yeah, she's made. I have an art piece on my hair. I love her. Anyways,
Ugh.
so I thought that would have been a weird cast. I don't
Mhm.
know. I think it was the right choice. So I don't know
feel
what
like
happened
it
there.
would have been a little too much Twin Peaks crossover.
Yeah.
then, with her and Piper Laurie.
And speaking of casting options, Gillian Anderson turned down the role of Valerie Drake, the principal.
Oh my god.
Who obviously went to BB Newworth.
Yeah.
Turned it down. I always feel like it's so
That's so
fun reading these, like, who would have been in the role. I'm recently
Mhm.
watching X-Files. There's 2 moments in this where, like, there's an X-Files, like, crossover.
They
which really
even
got me.
mentioned the X-Files in the dialogue, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they've mentioned a lot. There's a lot of references in this.
I mean,
which
it's a
they
Kevin
pulled from all of
Williamson.
those things.
Yeah.
So fun fact about the principal's name, Principal Drake comes from the Drake equation, which is used to estimate how much intelligent life there is in the universe.
Yeah,
Of course, Warren was like,
Yep.
alien man over there. I knew you would know that. So I thought that was kind of a fun, again, they start to finish, had
Yeah.
fun. I think
Oh, that's so
also
cute.
from what I'm hearing from you with Robert Rodriguez and then Kevin Williamson, it's like those 2 men.
Two goofs.
2 goofs.
Yeah.
So we have also some cameos that I'll run through. They're about like 10 minutes in. The tattoo girl who Mary Beth is asked where the office is
Mhm.
in the beginning. She's actually Robert Rodriguez's sister, Tina, who is an
Aw.
actress. I didn't realize as well in Inglourious Bastards, Death
Oh, hell
Proof,
yeah.
Machete. So the 2 of them really like
That makes
to
sense.
use her and
That's
stuff.
so cool.
And we also have here's where the story comes, I think. Does it? I don't know. I don't know where this story is gonna come in about Elijah Wood. We're all gonna learn together.
It'll
Here's the
happen
thing.
when it happens.
I
or
write
it
my
won't.
notes and then I have to reorganize
Yep.
them.
Yeah.
So I never know where I put things. There is Harry J. Knowles. He's the red-haired teacher. He goes by his name in it. He is a famous he has a famous movie called Ain't It Cool News, and he was a friend of Robert's. And budget. We're finally getting a budget. I don't know why I put this down here. So I'm gonna have you play the game of guess what this was made for.
Let's start
We have
our
a lot of-
guesses at 15.
Ding ding ding! Got on the first
Whoa,
try. You
look at
win
that.
nothing.
Yay!
You win a Splice and Splatter tote bag.
That I already have because my stuff's
Yeah,
already in it.
Well, you get 2, 1 for each arm. Can you guess how much this maybe made back? I'm curious. It's a tough guess because I feel like this movie, like, it did well.
Okay.
It really flies under the radar. I feel like it's got so much more love now than it did.
I was thinking, I feel like, well, especially because the craft is in my
Okay, I get
head,
it.
which was
Mhm.
also
Mhm.
15. Did it make about 45?
40. Oh my god, I thought you were gonna guess both, and I was gonna
Oh my god.
shut my
That,
little Kindle, whatever the fuck I have, my iPad.
just like a little, so close.
Yeah, so
40?
it did well.
Wow,
Yeah.
look at that.
40.2, and then obviously since it's gotten a ton of love.
Mhm.
So how did this come to be? In 1990, David Wetcher and Bruce Kimmel,
Mhm.
who are like a producer, and I forget the other guy's role on this, maybe both producers, I don't know. They had a draft of the script, but then no buyers. Obviously, then Scream came out. They had Kevin Williamson come do rewrites, work with them, and it sold immediately.
All of a sudden, as soon as Scream comes out,
Yeah.
every other screenplay that
Yeah.
he's done that's remotely horror related seems like it gets funded.
Yeah. Especially now, it's like, oh, his name's attached.
Yeah.
Done. So, director Robert Rodriguez said initially he wanted to do. So Kevin brought in to write, direct at first, and then Kevin's like, I'm gonna step out, do my other project, and initially Robert wanted to do Spy Kids, but they were kind of like, we don't know if like you're ready for Spy Kids. Like, why don't we give you this? Which I think is wild because I'm like, this movie feels like a lot.
Also,
Ultimately, he said they were right, but they were like, I think it was like, do this for us and we'll give you this.
because Spy Kids does have like a lot of practical effects, it seems like to me.
And they were like,
Thinking
maybe
back.
test out with a little bit of
Slightly
stuff
smaller
first,
budget.
which is wild because I guess again, I don't know enough about Spy Kids to know. I'm like, that feels smaller.
Well, and it's not Citizen Kane. Like it's it's Spy Kids.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
I gotta watch it so I can speak to this. I feel like I'm keeping my mouth shut so I don't talk because I know it's so beloved by so many people.
But not because it's like high art.
Yeah.
Like,
No. It just
yeah.
seems like camp good
Oh
time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And there's like so many people in that
Yeah.
too.
Ugh, and-
What a time.
Mm.
Love that he was like, I want Spy Kids, not the
Yeah.
faculty. Wild.
That's so. I mean, I've got to say, as a little New Mexican kid, I did love that Spy Kids like made the idea of bilingual parents like a widely publicized
that's probably also why
thing.
it did kind of well at that point too.
I
'Cause
think
I'm sure it was
so.
a story that like
There wasn't a lot of that.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
still
yeah.
not a lot of that. Let's be honest.
Fair.
So yeah,
fair.
yeah.
I thought too, like in this process, I got some quotes from Kevin Williamson in that behind the scenes video I was talking about earlier.
Mhm.
He was talking about telling scary stories in movies, and then it's hard to actually get an audience to believe unless you laugh at it. A theme that we've talked about a lot with
That's
him.
So Kevin Williamson. Yep.
And that he said, so quote, trying to get someone to believe something that they've seen 100 times before is very, very hard unless you give them the ability to go like, wink, wink, we're laughing at it too, because they know they're making fun of it. And we know the situation's ironic, and that maybe you can fool them enough with humor that you can finally scare them. So I love that he always has that thread of let me pull you through, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
Just kidding, like we're gonna
Like
try and
trick
give
you into a false sense of security.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
I love that.
So again, I feel like he approaches a lot of his stuff with that mentality. And he goes on to talk about the importance he finds in humor and storytelling, as long as it's true humor, situational humor, and character humor, and not necessarily like that campy derivative humor. I think that's why he gets the point, is again that based in realism. Craft does it too. He also talks about the film more as a sci-fi and thriller more than anything, and everyone talks about this. Like no one wants to call this a horror movie on set.
So interesting.
And I don't know if it's because they're doing that thing where they didn't want to be like, it's horror, like it's not
They're like
fine
looking
art.
down on it.
Yeah. So, or they were just trying to be different. But I know that
it feels very horror. Like it's
I'm-
it feels more so
I
than the
have
craft.
yeah. I have feelings about them not like everyone stayed so hard away, even though it's
interesting.
yeah. I know they pulled a lot from every reference that they reference in the film. They pulled from specifically the 1950s sci-fi Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is I want it to be a birthday pick, but I also want to pair those two together. That movie like made me who I am today.
I still vote we should do the 50s one with the 70s one.
I think so too, because I haven't seen the 70s and you haven't seen the 50s.
I haven't seen the 50s. And again, for our year anniversary, podcast birthday.
Oh
instead
yeah,
of your
pod.
birthday. Yeah.
Stop
Because
it.
we're the
I
pod
forgot
people.
about that.
Because we're the pod people.
I
Al.
stopped. I forgot.
Right? Warren, back me up on
damn
this.
it.
We're the pod people.
Okay, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
It's decided.
I love it. But I love that they draw from that. And again, like I've been saying, it feels like a Goosebumps episode. So this film went through some title changes, which I think is really cool.
Interesting.
There's
it felt like they've like inserted the faculty into the dialogue so many times, because like I wrote down to myself, I don't think I've ever used the words faculty like in daily speech.
Yeah.
As
Staff.
often. Yeah.
Not faculty.
Yeah. Teachers.
Yeah. Teachers.
Professors.
Yeah. So
Not faculty.
There's faculty. There's not a lot of facts. That was bad. There's not a lot of facts about this. Rewind the tape. We're going back. Redo. Take two.
delete.
So we're there. I can't find like straight sources. Robert Rodriguez says that he came up with the title The Faculty. He's also saying it might have been in the script already, or the script's been called that. It was obviously written in the script, like you said. One of the original titles was The Feelers. Hate it. Robert Rodriguez also liked Alienated and The Others. Can you not get over The Feelers? It sounds like a band. Like a British band from the 60s.
That sounds like a terrible porn film.
I mean, maybe that is a porn film knockoff.
Yeah.
Of The Faculty.
The Feelers.
Hey, if no one's done it, if there's someone listening that produces porn, I suggest it. Copyright it now. We won't take it from you.
Yeah, it's yours.
Yeah, it's yours. You're welcome. Especially with the research.
Just give us a special thanks in the credits.
Yeah. Just give Just give us title credit. Oh my god, that'd be so cute. Oh, I love
Story
that.
by
Yeah,
Splice Splatter.
Yeah, we'll help. You'd be sponsored.
There you go.
But yeah, Alienated and The Others were two options, which they're very happy they didn't go with The Others because the Nicole Kidman film came out 2 years after this,
and
so
it's
it would have
brilliant.
so good.
So good.
Also another one I want to do. So yeah, the studio was like, no, let's just go with The Faculty.
Smart.
And Robert said, quote, well, I kind of said he already like thought that he's debatable of like whether he came up with it or it was already done. But he goes on to say, about the title, I remember growing up, there was a movie with Nick Nolte called The Teachers, and I remember being like, what kid wants to go see a movie about teachers? So that's what he was worried about with this movie, is that they weren't going to attract the audience that they wanted to because of the title. So that's why there was kind of debate over it. And they even had to shoot extra footage of the faculty doing stuff like closing windows, locking doors for the trailer, which just strengthened the idea of teachers being the bad guys. So he didn't know if they were going to sell it. And he was just trying to convince people like it's a good movie, it's not gonna be lame.
Oh my
like, we promise you.
God.
So I thought it was really kind of an interesting backstory of it. Usually you see the title change, there's not many reasons why. But he felt very strongly about it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it feels like the Pink Floyd needle drop or the Pink Floyd cover needle drop feels so much like it's just like hitting you over the head with the idea of like it is the faculty that are the villains people.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it pretty much sets it off like within the first 5 minutes that we know. So ultimately, I kind of love the name. It feels so unique within the horror realm and sci-fi realm.
I think that's probably part of why I'd imagine part of why it's done so well is that it's a title that isn't. If this were called The Others, it would be more forgettable.
Yeah. I feel like it stands out a little bit within all the other, like the faculty and a thing of horror, but it's the sci-fi alien invasion movie. It's everything's doesn't go together
in a satisfying way.
Yeah. But then it like comes together. You're like, it kind of works. Okay.
Yeah.
So production, they mainly shot in Austin, Texas, from April 13th to June 26th. They did a lot of filming at the high school in Lockhart, Texas, where they actually used the football team at the school. And they had the city show up for the football games, and they gave them like fake T-shirts and to wear in the stands and stuff. So they really brought the community together, which I think is cute.
I love that.
The school's torn down, so bummer you can't go to it, because that'd be so fun to go visit like that location. And then also the high school band you see in the football scene is from the Austin High School in Texas, and I just thought this was weird, random. It was a school that President George W. Bush's daughters attended.
Oh, weird.
Is that weird?
That is weird.
I mean, is it a private school? Weird. Was that before the? Anyways, so we've got
Did
to
we get
Elijah
Wood.
Wood.
Yes.
Why the fuck
Bring
did I
us
put
home,
this here?
baby.
Oh, because production. So on set of this, obviously we know that Elijah Wood was 17 years old. Harry J. Knowles, he's a producer actor. He actually was, so when he was on the set for this, brought in by Robert as a friend, he got wind that Peter Jackson was holding auditions for film called Lord of the Rings, this adaptation. And he really encouraged Elijah to send in a tape. And even though like Peter Jackson was only looking for British actors at the time, or like actors from the UK, Elijah took his time off set, sent in an audition tape.
I mean, again, he's got such an elven look to him.
Yeah.
Like,
but I'm like, if the faculty...
There you go. Without the faculty,
you wouldn't have Mr. Frodo that we all know and love on screen.
You're welcome, wild? Everybody. Yeah. Thanks, Robert Rodriguez.
Yes, truly. Yeah. So yeah, that's so weird cool. Domino effect. We talk about careers.
The casting dominoes.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
So if it wasn't for the faculty, we wouldn't have Elijah Wood in Lord of the Rings, which would be wildly different. Because he is Frodo.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's so funny. We wouldn't him for yours and Angelina Jolie for mine. But only because she wasn't in it, rather than because she was.
And this is because he was. So, what else do we have?
I love that. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. I love it.
Film is such a small world.
I feel like if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you probably knew that. Trav knew it when I told him, but I was very excited to know that. So,
wow.
We have some foreshadowing in the film. I know you brought some foreshadowing up in I think our last episode, or 2 episodes ago, and I thought this was kind of
love a little foreshadowing.
This one had so much of it, so I'll kind of skim through. Most of it very much with obviously Mary Beth, who's the queen, and a lot of foreshadowing with her, which is really noticeable.
I have to say this is
Oh,
like
God.
a little embarrassing personal tidbit.
Oh,
The
God.
first note that I wrote down from this movie, the second Mary Beth came on the screen,
You were like,
and
her.
no, this is so much funnier and so much worse once you know what the twist of the movie is. I wrote down, oh no, Mary Beth has big multiple of Siena's ex-girlfriend vibes.
Oh, no.
Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Yeah. Might have to bring that one to therapy next week.
Yeah. Kathleen, help? What does this mean?
Oh,
Why am I attracted to the
no.
queen?
Oh my God. I mean, she gives, to be fair. And she was so accepting of Stokes.
Oh, I know.
Which was really, but
well,
I really, ulterior motives.
I
but,
mean,
you know,
yeah.
it seems like
Seems like my type.
oh God, yeah, you would have died.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
swindled.
dead
Swindled,
immediately.
swooped.
Yeah.
So some foreshadowing of Mary Beth's character and her being the big bad.
The queen.
The queen.
My ex. Sorry.
Is Mary Beth's face at the back of a poster. Kind of has like a evil onlooker. There's like a poster that shows up, so she's like an evil onlooker that kind of is like this foreshadowing of her. We have this scene where Zeke forces Delilah and Mary Beth to snort the scat, as they call it. I hate that word. And the two look at each other kind of stressed about the situation. Upon rewatch, it's clear that they're communicating as both hosts, like aliens, which is
they're like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, and there's some other things too of like even in that shot with all the streamers in the gym and it's her and Stokes in the gym. Yeah. Those are kind of like the tendrils that they're already she's infected. Yeah. So there's lots of really cool little moments that they put in here. Again, so much thought. I think a lot of that has to do with, again, Robert and Kevin's like love for storytelling. We also have among like the motivational banners in the school's locker room, there's a sign that says the will to win comes from within, which is particularly appropriate considering the body snatcher nature of the aliens.
It's coming from within.
That's one of the things. Streamers, like I said, are like the little tendrils. And I thought something kind of interesting that like the internet and like reviews kind of, this is where we get to that awesome review, is when looking at the characters too, which is kind of fun, just as a whole of like themes. So this isn't really foreshadowing, but more like themes and just the cast in general. We have like the Breakfast Club vibes, which everyone talks about. I think all the crew, the cast, and everyone online. So we have the princess, Delilah, the jock, Stan, the brain, Casey, the outcast, Stokes, and the criminal, Zeke. But I think it's really interesting because the virgin's the monster, the druggie's the smartest, the jock is actually a good guy, and I wrote like the lesbian wasn't a lesbian? Question mark? I don't know about that. Yeah. Same with what's her name's character in Breakfast Club.
True.
But I thought it was kind of fun because it reminds me of Cabin in the Woods, of like these twists on these normal, and I feel
tropes,
like
these teen tropes.
Yeah, and I feel like it was doing something new at the time too, which is really fun. There's again, all these things came together to make this film that actually makes sense and is pretty cohesive and a pretty straightforward storytelling.
Yeah, in ways that it maybe on paper shouldn't be.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be way more confused rewatching it than I was. So this is someone's comment online. I think it was like an IMDb review or something. So excited. The heading was Invasion of the Breakfast Club Snatchers. Wow, fumbled that one. So Invasion of the Breakfast Club Snatchers. Isn't it so perfect? It's on the big three.
Put that on the poster, baby.
Yeah. My sun is Invasion. My moon is Breakfast. And my rising is Snatchers. Right? What are yours? What's your big three?
Oh my god, it's so true.
Yeah.
Well, we know at least one of them is the craft, but
apart
from that.
So, this kind of leads me into more of the themes, more of the like genre blending we talked about. So I thought, again, the cast and crew were very much leaning into more of the sci-fi element of this. They call it a thriller. They call it suspense. They call it anything but horror. Rude. So Elijah Wood said in an interview that he loved Robert Rodriguez and really loved that he wanted to focus on the story of alienation of teenagers and the high school experience. And that Robert really said that they didn't capture the reality of high school in a lot of movies that he'd seen. So he
Yeah.
really wanted to give that in this, what it meant to try and assimilate, which is exactly what the aliens are trying to do in this.
Mhm.
So I love this film because I feel like it blends these things, but it doesn't, like, obviously those things are apparent. If you really look
Mhm.
at it, you're like, duh, that's the theme. But I love that it doesn't hit you over the head with that.
Yeah.
It's not like, this is what being a high schooler is like. It
Yeah.
just is.
It just is. I did think it was kind of a clever narrative conceit to decide that kind of like the thing that determines your safety or lack of safety is whether you're able to tell if this person is really themselves based on whether their behavior has changed. And yet part of
Yeah.
the whole point is it's high school, everybody's behavior is changing.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's real. That's
yeah,
real.
that I was gonna point that out as like that specific moment because I
Mhm.
did these notes, watched it again, saw that, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, yeah, it's so true. It's like, are you still the same person? But like,
Mhm.
you're not gonna enter high school and leave high school
The same person. No, that's part of the whole
So-
point of high school is that you
Yeah.
go through these drastic personality changes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the preppy to sewing my clothes to look like Anthropology pipeline.
I love
The double popped collars
Mhm.
to sewing fish with beads on my
Mhm.
shirt was
Mhm.
very real. Yeah,
Mhm.
left very different. So
The silent nerd to silent freak pipeline was
yeah, I got a
mine,
little bit
yeah.
more. You come into your own. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love that they had that moment in that. That was like the only point I think that they talk about it, but it still wasn't
Mm.
even in the context of.
It's still not hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah.
It felt yeah.
Yeah.
Nicely done. Nicely done, Robert.
Good job.
Good
Clap,
job.
clap, 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 clap. We have some fun tidbits. I'll just say a few of them. One of them was obviously the drug test scene was an homage to the blood test scene in The Thing, or from The Thing. There's also an
I
X-Files
should've put that
episode
together. I
like
should've
that
put
too,
that
which is so
together.
good.
It's so obvious
It's
when
so
you say that.
obvious, yeah.
Oh my!
Every reference they
Doy.
talked about is absolutely in your face, screaming at you reference.
And yet I
and
didn't
yet
see it.
Sienna
No,
put on
we-
little earmuffs
Yeah.
and walked out of the room.
La, la, la.
It's okay. You aren't the only one, I am sure, that missed that. Because again, there is so much happening in this film.
I also just need to rewatch The Thing. But
Yeah.
I feel like that should be a winter
Yeah,
episode pairing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's also a scene where the students are being called to the principal's office. One of the names called is Thomas Nix, and in reality, Thomas Nix is one of the directors, Robert's friends from college, and also
Aw.
helped Rodriguez write his second feature, Road Racers, in 1994.
That's
so I love
so
that he gave his friend like a little like,
That's so
"Hey."
cute.
And then also not really a fun fact, but more incorrect information is the scene where Mary Beth.
Fun lie.
Yeah, lies. Is the scene where Mary Beth and Stokes are talking about Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She gives
Mhm.
that line like, "What happens in it? They get us, they win, we
mhm.
lose." That's not right. That is wrong. The book actually ends with aliens giving up because they had underestimated the human desire for survival.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
lies.
Is that how the 50s version ends?
I believe so.
Oh,
I don't remember.
interesting.
I feel, again, we've said this. I've said this. I gaslight myself a lot.
True.
So if someone says something, I'm like, that's it.
Sure,
But
absolutely.
I don't know. So
yeah.
have to revisit.
Great.
We'll talk about it on a podcast.
There you go.
episode. A lot of the cast and crew worked together again in various ways, which I thought was really cute. They ended up doing actually a music video together for promo
Aw, oh, cute.
for this because Tommy Hilfiger was like, "Oh, you can use our clothes, but we want you to do an ad campaign for us." So they did like a little music video for
Oh, what a
him.
time.
Or like a little commercial for him.
Mhm.
They did a music video for Another Brick in the Wall Part 2. So they did.
That whole scene felt like a music video. So yeah, it feels like it kind of steps out of the narrative in like a musical type of way.
Oh my god,
almost,
imagine
you
if this
know?
turned into a musical.
It feels like it's about
Back
to.
to the musical?
Yes.
Broadway.
Call
Answer
us
my
up,
calls.
baby. Yeah.
Pick up that phone. And obviously, like I said, Robert Rodriguez worked with pretty much like every actor after this. He worked with Josh Hartnett and Elijah Wood in 2005 Sin City, which I also want to rewatch.
Mhm.
We have Summer Phoenix, who I didn't mention earlier. Yes, part of the Phoenix fam. R.I.P. River. And Christopher McDonald went on to do SLC Punk together that same year, which is
Oh.
cool. So a lot of these actors have a lot of
Mhm.
crossover.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And then finally, we get to critics and audience response.
Mhm.
This also has a low score, 58% on Rotten Tomatoes. Less surprised by this one than The Craft.
Wait,
And
so it has 1% higher than The Craft?
it's Craft's
That's
57.
insane.
This one's pretty good.
I mean,
But The Craft's better.
but the craft is better.
I know.
It's objectively better.
Here's the thing. I
Let's
think
be
boys
real.
liked this one more. Because it's called The
And
Faculty.
who does film reviews? Let's be
The
real.
boys.
Yeah.
I hope to be a film bro one day.
Mhm.
And it has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. It obviously did really well worldwide, but I
Mhm.
think this one is definitely one of those cult films that did
Yeah.
so much better after the fact. I was really late to the party. I watched this end of years of college, maybe even
Oh.
into my 20s. I can't really
Wow.
remember the time
From the way you've talked about it, I would have assumed it was an earlier.
because it's just so
Yeah.
good. That
Yeah.
creature design.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And just again, I think I love it so much because it really feels like an adult Goosebumps episode. I will die on that. And so
It also, I realized the pool scene at the end feels very Jennifer's Body. And I hadn't realized
Mhm.
that was, I think,
It's hard to
probably
have
part
a
of what it's
s-
referencing.
oh, I don't know. You gotta think a pool scene in a school in a
Yeah.
horror movie. They all just feel like this very comforting, nostalgic,
Yeah, that's true.
because I don't know if you ever after school being in the pool area was the creepiest place to be.
Oh, me and Warren went to the same school. There was no pool at Capitol High School.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't have that kind of money on the south side of Santa Fe.
Oh,
Are you
God.
kidding?
You
Look
said-
at our
what'd you
public
have?
pools in Santa Fe. They're still shut
Oh, do we
down,
have
and it's the
any?
middle of
Oh.
August.
Do we have any?
Exactly.
When
We
I
don't
say
have
when I
those.
say I have a pool at my complex, everyone goes, "Oh." I feel very cool.
It's very fancy in New Mexico.
Who,
Yeah.
me?
School pool? No.
Oh, okay,
No.
well,
I
very
don't think even
creepy.
Santa Fe High has a school pool, do they? No. Yeah. I don't think
Okay.
anywhere in Santa Fe has
Oh,
a school
bummer.
pool.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, not bummer. Swim class sucked. It was awful. I had to do it
I
one
would have
year.
preferred that to like running. My God. Ugh.
Wet hair. I did it at 6th period, so I got to leave. But there were people that had to
Oh.
walk around school with wet hair all day. That seems like a crime. Talk about
Arrest them.
yeah, arrest them for pool hour.
Arrest
Hour
them for
one?
dripping.
Yeah. Also, when we would have lunch, one period in, you get to school, have a class, go to lunch. Bro, I got the rest of the day to get through.
Man, our school experiences were so different.
Yeah, we went to I went to who was we? Me, myself, and I, actually, formally.
The multiple owl personalities.
Really. I went,
Owl and owl's alters. The alters.
Yeah, the alters. I had the quintessential school experience. My school is also very we very much had the jocks, the popular kids, the arts kids, the goths.
Yeah.
We were so broken up in that.
Oh,
in a
we
way
just
that
had
was
the rival
so wild.
gangs. That's what we had.
Well, we joined my senior year. Our rival high schools had it combined because they
Oh.
turned the other high school into a junior high. So we had all the art kids and stoners. And so we had
Oh.
police on the campus every single day. Police dogs, breaking up fights, people going to wherever the fuck they took them. I don't know. Let's get aliens put in them. Who knows? But yeah, so that was, I don't even know how we got here.
I'm so sorry.
I was going to say resurgence.
Pools?
Anyways. There was a reissued Blu-ray in the UK in 2021 that was done of this. And then also there was a little interview on a YouTuber, Jake's Takes, great name, with Robert Rodriguez talking about is there any hopes in the future of getting the
Aw.
cast back together to do another faculty?
Mhm.
And all he said was, in a very smirky little sly way, which who knows how you can read that, he wrote, "Could be, but I can't tell you what we're working on right now." So there's rumor, but again, there's always a rumor about something being.
Quick pitch.
Okay.
Because
Robert?
yeah.
Get him on the line.
Okay.
Lauren, get him on the line.
So in Spanish, the word facultad is facility or the ability
Mm.
to do something.
Yeah.
And it also has a magical second connotation. If you have
Please don't say you're going to
The
say craft
foresight.
faculty crossover.
yeah, la
How good that
facultad.
was. No, get out of
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Robert, hang up.
Hello?
Hang up the phone. Don't answer the call.
Make it in Spanglish,
call's coming from
Robert.
inside
Come
the
to New
house.
Mexico. Shoot it.
Warren's cheering you on.
Yes.
There's something there. I gotta think about it. But also, you're not
La
pitching it to me.
facultad.
That's all you're gonna say there, isn't it? La facultad.
That's all I got.
Oh my God.
I've got no
I love
plot.
it.
I just have the title.
Well, on that
note.
on that note, come see The Craft in person
Yeah,
in
first
Santa
week of
Fe.
September.
Yeah, first weekend of September. Tickets should be on sale at JeanCocteauCinema.com.
By the time you're listening to
Yeah,
this.
we also have our merch, Splice and Splatter merch. We should hopefully have it online by now. Follow us on social at Splice and Splatter Pod everywhere. We'll be obviously posting about it because we're so excited.
Send us photos of you in your merch.
Oh my God,
if you
yes,
feel
please
comfortable.
tag
love
us
them.
if you want to be reposted, or if you
Yeah.
don't, just send us photos and we'll post
We'll
those.
happily post without
Whatever you
tagging
want.
We'll follow your lead, but we love seeing you in our merch.
Yeah, because everyone's styling it different. I went home and immediately cut my sleeves off of
I'm
mine
gonna
and the
turn
bottom.
mine into a crop top.
I figured.
Yeah.
I was surprised when you didn't come in a crop. So, the way you style it, I know Mark was talking about doing some blood splatter of his own on his, not with real blood, but with paint. We hope.
Well, who
But,
knows?
You know,
Mark?
if it's ethically sourced blood, do what you want. Not human blood though. Or like
There's
whatever.
ethical sources
Oh,
for
yeah,
human
that's
blood,
true,
aren't
yeah.
there?
Your own? I don't
Yeah.
know.
There you go.
So yeah, merch. We'd
So
love
yeah,
to see you.
drain
in
your
it.
own blood, put it on our merch.
This is going horribly. Does anyone even see to the end? I don't know. So
We can only hope not.
purchase our merch if you want to support us. It's really helpful. It's very cool to see.
Yeah.
It gets us really excited. We're also going to be at Morgue and Crypt and Morgue.
Krypton Morgue? I think it's Krypton Morgue.
in
I believe the
Albuquerque.
K comes first, as I'm picturing the logo in my head.
Yeah, Crypt and Morgue in Albuquerque on September 27th, I believe, is when we're
sounds right.
going. So we're going to be there. We're going to be sporting our merch there.
Yeah.
Any merch ideas? If you guys want to see stuff, let us know that too, because sometimes my brain shrivels up like a little grape and I look like SpongeBob on that episode when he goes to visit Sandy. So, yeah.
Yep.
And what else? I think that's kind of it. Next episode.
Oh yeah.
Siena had a smart pairing.
Yeah, I had exactly one late summer into early autumn pairing idea. So
Yeah, it's hard.
We're doing it for late summer
There's
into early
so
autumn.
many movies we can cover, we realize. So we're actually, the struggle is to only pick
Yeah.
4 movies per month.
Anybody who hears us talking about being indecisive, it's not because we don't have ideas, it's because we have too many ideas.
Yeah, truly.
Anyway, next episode, I'm going to cover one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, Children of the Corn from 1984. And
I'm doing
Al.
In the Tall Grass. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah,
When was
from
that out?
2019.
2019.
Mhm.
I love it. Stephen King also.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah,
And they're actually both anniversaries. We've got a 5-year for yours and a 35-year for mine, I believe. Or a 40.
Damn.
40.
That'd be cool
40
to
year, yeah.
talk about those two.
Mhm.
In the Tall Grass, you haven't seen it.
No.
Bro, fucked me up.
I'm so
Fucked
excited.
me up.
I have not seen it, but I do have a couple of stills from it pinned to my inspiration
That makes
board for my
sense.
film.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
visually stunning. I'm still haunted by it. So I'm
that
excited.
pause was so telling.
Watching that alone for this
I love
might
it.
get me.
I love it.
To be
I
fair,
can't
Patrick
wait.
Wilson. Also, we're finally doing a Patrick Wilson.
Oh, look at that!
Oh,
I'm
he's
sure
so
many
good.
more to come.
Yeah,
but,
I hope
yeah.
so. So
Yeah.
so that's what we're covering.
Yeah. Oh, also, thank you all again. I know I've said this on a couple of previous episodes, but please keep those Letterboxd reviews and follows coming.
Love
I
Letterboxd.
love
And like leave us real
seeing you
reviews
guys
because we
watching them.
we got one that says 10 out of 10 if you like gay content or something
Yes.
like that. Cracked
So
me up.
good.
Pretty sure that was Sarah. Hey,
I'm pretty
shout
sure
out.
that was Sarah.
So we love your fun reviews.
Yes.
It's makes me giggle of what you all kind of get out of this. So thank you too. It's helping keep us in the charts for Film History Podcast, which is really important for us, again, as two femme queer people in film.
There's not a whole lot of us
it's
on
cool
the
to
film
see us-
history podcast charts.
So thank you for that. Thanks for
Yeah.
supporting us. It does mean a whole lot.
Mhm. And as we know, I'm fueled purely by rage and bitterness. And so as
I think we beat him, Tarantino. We were like 28 the other day, babes. Yeah, so let's just be all the straight white guys in film. Let's do it together.
Yes.
Our little queerdos.
Would you like to say, let's channel La Facultad?
No, I would not, actually. So thanks, everybody, but Siena for today. Mainly Warren. Well, follow us on social media. You
Yeah.
guys know the thing. We got a link tree. Hey.
You can find us on there.
But thank you for
Yeah.
Warren for being our camera person
Holding
and
down the fort.
our
the,
audio
the
person
technological
today.
fort.
Yeah, and cutting out any embarrassing things I've said. And
turning
thank
up the
you-
volume on any embarrassing things Al
Yeah,
says.
Thank you to Theo Schaefer for drowning us out in music right now.
Please.
Before any more embarrassment happens. And thanks for listening to Splice Splatter.
The film podcast presented by the Jean Cocteau Cinema in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where classic horror
It's modern gore.
And until next time, we'll be right back.
That was a shit show.
I loved that. I thought that was great.
You leave that in if you want. That was a shit show.